Here we go again. Me and my YouTube pages. I am the worst at that. Hey, everybody. It's Friday night. We're so glad you're here. Big freaking Fridays. If I was in a better mood, I might even use a cuss word. No, I
Oh,
wouldn't. But big freaking Fridays. This is awesome. We're going to be here 2 hours. We're going to give you wall to wall coverage on college football playoff negotiations now finalized and a bunch of other stuff. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown, and with me tonight are going to be my partners. That would be Immaculate, Moen, and the Wild Ute, who will be joining shortly. So before we get going, really quick, I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Moen, what were you going to say?
so I got my blood pumping out here doing the mowing size. Come on, everybody, get up.
He's been running calisthenics there. Everyone
1
else just
liter
got to work
curls,
out.
people. 1 liter curls. Let's do it. Let's do
I
it.
hope everybody's loaded tonight. We got Crown in the house. What are you drinking tonight, Immaculate?
I just opened up a new bottle. It's something someone got me. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. It's Bullet. It's my first time trying it. So
Like a bourbon or
if
something?
it's a rye. I'm not
Okay.
usually a rye guy. So if I make a face, don't hold it against me.
Okay, I
Don't
won't.
worry, buddy. I'll give it a good home.
I'm drinking the hard stuff, cherry Coke. So
Ooh,
yeah, we'll be
full,
right with you.
full cherry Coke.
Full cherry
Caffeinated?
Coke, the
Caff-
full,
Wow.
no zero calorie or
Wow.
crap like that.
Goodness.
I'm already, yeah. Anyway, we appreciate everybody being here tonight. I hope you come to have fun. We're gonna have a fun night. It's gonna be a lot of back and forth talking about stuff. We're hoping to put a bow, as everybody else has been saying today. Put a bow and shove it in the corner of this college football playoff stuff. We're sort of tired of it, realizing that there might be more in the future, but for right now we have other stuff we want to be dealing with. So tonight will be pretty much us shutting the door, and we'll be moving right along. So we appreciate everybody for being here tonight. Please make sure you follow us all on Twitter. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and leave us a comment or a question. And most importantly, turn on those notifications all around so you know when we're on, and you won't miss a second. Let me really quick run the video on how you become a member, and I'll tell you why membership has its advantages, and then we'll get right into the program.
Want to become a member of the College Football Mafia family? Simply select the Join button from our homepage. There are several options with their own unique benefits to choose from. You can also set yourself to auto-accept gifted membership by selecting the gift settings options as shown.
So I'm anticipating a lot of super chats tonight. I'm anticipating a lot of memberships tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. We definitely are going to start relying on you guys to build the community out. We want to flush this thing and do more with less, honestly. And you guys are our more, and I want you to know that. By the way, I want to introduce. It's not quite set up yet, but we are going to come up with our own Discord server. And then you guys, throughout your day, no matter what you're doing, if you're like mowing, you're exercising, jazzercise, you could be talking on Discord in a particular channel. If you want to talk realignment, if you want to talk prettiest hair, I don't care what it is. Discord server's coming, and I hope to have it at least set up initially, probably by the end of next week. If there's anybody out there right now watching or watching this later after we're done that is a Discord quote unquote expert, please send me a DM, and I want to talk to you, because not only do I have questions about setup and everything, but there's an opportunity there. I might engage you to help me do some of that work, and we could talk about how we do reimbursement for labor and everything. But that's something that's really important. We want to get that put together as soon as we can. Let's do some shout outs, and then we'll get right into topics tonight. College football. Oh, wait, I forgot to tell everybody. This is why I want everybody to become a member, so you have access to the programs like these. And let me share my screen. And if I'm yelling, I apologize. Here, I'll move it. I'm really energized today. We had a lot of fun in the green room preparing for this show, and so I'm really excited to be here tonight. Really quick. So these are all special videos that Wild Ute University he puts together. Obviously, we help him with those, but these are community driven. The ideas for these shows come from the community, and we're always creating more. Right now, there's one that's in members only lockdown. Actually, you click the membership to see that one. Moen had to teach me that. And it's currently Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is the drinking game. Where's my banner for Georgia Tech is the drinking game? Let me get to that. Let's see here. Georgia Tech is the drinking game. There we go. And it says members only there. If you're a member, you have access to these videos. You have them for 2 weeks. Nobody else has access to them from the outside world. So you're going to be exactly 2 weeks ahead of the rest of your peers out in the world for all the information that's loaded in Wild University's videos. That's all I'm going to say. It really shouldn't require a bunch of selling because they frankly are amazing videos. There's no other way to put it. Okay, let's do some shout outs and then we'll start the show. Wild Utes here. Here he goes.
There he is.
All right. So let's start at the top. College Football Mafia says, "Oh, hey, kid, Buckshot Kid." Was that me or was that you?
That was me.
Okay.
I tried to get in there
wanna
before
make
he
sure.
does now.
No problem. Yeah, you were first to post, I guess. So he beat us. He was the first member to join. Then we had Nathan Campbell's here. Sorry, Nathan, I'm not going to have time to probably jump through each one of these that you put out there, but really good comments tonight. Joaquin Morales, greetings, the College Football Mafia family. Don't forget to smash that like button. Let's go. Thank you so much, Joaquin. We really appreciate you being here. Timothy Green. I can't wait to see Moen's outfit tonight. It always adds to the show. Come on, stand up. There you go. Give us a walk around. I love it. Let's see. Interesting show. So come on in, college football fans. Georgia Tech. Again,
Georgia Tech.
Game.
Welcome to the weekend.
All the way from Slovenia. Thank you so much, Jan Hoke. Your loyalty is, believe me, it's a big deal to me personally. I doubt anyone is, preseason champions Ohio says, I doubt anyone is really thrilled about this deal. Well, I think the Big Ten and the SEC are. But, man, I feel for the Pac-2. We'll talk about that in a bit. $360,000 per team per year is all they get. That wouldn't even be enough to pay for one quality player. I don't even think it pays for the backup kicker. That's ridiculous money.
Oh my gosh.
Jeff Woodworth says the commissioners look like they are the panel on Shark Tank. That's true. Ryan Willie, I can't believe Monty thinks the Big is in a pushover conference and wants Notre Dame to join the Big today. Okay. Rock and Rant says my head hurts from ridiculously bad takes from Monty and Genetics. I would add Altamore and many others to that list.
I mean, what are they saying out there? Like, does anyone on this, this panel, Ray? I don't think we listen to Monty. I haven't listened.
Yeah,
to Monty
I don't know. You guys will have
time.
to tell us what they say because we don't listen to them. So
look, Genetics blocked me a long time ago after he stole my financial model last year. So FYI,
right.
That guy blocked me after I called him out on stealing my work. He's a thought thief. That's the last time I'll talk his name.
Yeah, I one day I would like to do a full, open and honest conversation about that because it's not a small deal. And I know you downplay it, but for me, it's something I will never let go. So, Bill G, he's here early tonight. That's fantastic. Georgia Tech.
It's like he wants me to drink twice. What is with this, Bill? Do we have a problem here? Trying to kill me?
Rock and Rand again says, I also feel terrible for Oregon State and Washington State. Okay. We keep going. We got so many comments. I want to try to get to everybody, at least a shout out tonight. Moff Prof says everything is stupid.
Everything is awesome.
Everything is stupid. I love it. Rock and Rant says when BYU fans cuss, it's kind of like awesome. Okay. Well, I've cussed on the show before. I mean, it's not like the first time, but
he said the S word once and we fined him for it.
Xmos it talks. See, I don't know who that is. A member says, hello, everyone. How am I saying that?
Yeah.
Am I saying it wrong?
I say it Mossy Talks.
That's what I think Mozzie Talks. Like
Mozzie Talks. With the X's on the ends? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mozzie Talks. We'll go with that.
Bowen, your outfit's so 10 out of 10 tonight. It's
you.
awesome. I love it.
You like the studio back here? We're gonna have some ladies
Oh,
we
come
do-
in
man,
later.
we
it's
do.
just freaking awesome.
I saw Jane Fonda walk behind you there. For a
Yoga
little bit.
pants, gentlemen.
He's
yoga
starting
pants.
a yoga cult, by the way,
Yeah.
guys.
Rock
He's the
Chalk.
yogi.
Rock Chalk says, as long as the Big 12 wins, kind of want ACC to be over with. Well, Ute and I are absolutely out front. We want the ACC to die and burn. Tomorrow would be
Absolutely.
great. Yeah,
There's no
can't
political
happen soon
correctness
enough.
here. We're going to be real honest with you guys. We need to see that thing burn up.
Absolutely down to the ground. Edward Wayner, howdy from I-30 near Texarkana. I went through there 1 week, returning to Big 12 country. Good to have you home. Let's see here. Ryan Ballou, I believe you're new to the show or semi-new. Good to have you here. Yormark and Big 12 agreed that conference worth less than the ACC, Big 12 schools worth less than half. MSU, Vanderbilt, Indy, Rutgers, absurd. Just to be clear, let's clear this up right now. The Big 12 per school is actually making more than the ACC is per school. They did a breakdown that went for overall, but the Big 12 is actually going to end up making more money from this deal. So the way they have an extra school that they're adding, right? So it increases the value, but it lowers the per school payout. Just true facts. Just want to let everybody know that because that's been one of the things talked today. Wow, the ACC so much more money. So it's like apples and oranges. Nobody's doing a true accounting there. Maybe that's a short we should do. A truth in data. Just tell everybody really what does this data mean, not what you're telling everybody it means, because there's big differences, right?
I think that maybe I've heard something different. I don't know. Maybe you've got some different information. Everything I've read, the ACC is getting paid 13 mil per school and the Big 12's 12 mil. So it's real close, but the ACC is just like $1 million more. But hey, something could have come out recently that changed that. What's your guys' understanding?
It's really close. It's just slightly more because the ACC. Some people we were doing math for 18, but it's actually for 17 because Notre Dame has their own payout. So it's 17.4% for 17 teams versus the 14 point whatever it was for 16. So right now it's a little in favor of the ACC, but with what's coming, that's going to change, obviously.
All right, very good. Excuse me. Oh, I just did that. I apologize. You got shown twice there, Ryan. Good for you. I just drank pop and now I'm at bourbon. Okay, Tony Lawson says, Monavision, were you playing tennis with Bjorn Borg earlier?
I did, and I won the set.
No, I don't believe that. He's in jail, isn't he? Which one? No, Boris Becker's in jail. All right.
Why is Boris Becker in jail?
Tax fraud.
Oh,
Tax
geez.
fraud in Germany. Yeah, he didn't pay his taxes. 7 years he got. I'm sure he's teaching tennis inside right now. Antoine Codes, good to see you. Another member says, I'm here for the Wild Ute rant. Everything else is icing on the cake. Okay, well,
you know what the rant is right now? It's about Pitt, the Pitt Panthers. Bring it on, Pitt. You have to have fans though to fight back. So
Chad Bracey says, "Yo, John, how do you say Bardaki? Moment is chasing Xanadu. Yes, he is Xanadu. That's a good callback too." And then Don Struggs, the last one, says, "What's up, y'all? SEC fan here. We appreciate you, Don, as an SEC, and we're looking to grow in SEC country. So anything you can do to help us would be appreciated." All right. Everybody, I'm going to, before I hand it off to you guys, because I'm really getting tired of talking, one last time, 67, almost 70 people watching this live. Please make sure you subscribe, you follow us on Twitter, and especially turn on your notifications. That matters to us. Our channel is trying to be a business, and to do that, we need some of these things, and this is how you can help us. The more you help us, the more we can provide to you. All right. I think of all of us, the one that is holding his breath the most, that wants to get it off his chest the absolute most, is Immaculate. So I'm going to let him go tonight. You don't have to do your full rant right now, but just give us your top of order. What's top of mind? What's the takeaway from today or for the last week?
Well, despite the actual details, I'm happy it's done. I'm tired of talking about it, to be honest. It's a smaller part of the big picture than one might think compared to how much it's been talked about lately. So I'm happy to see it's done. It's shocking. I would say my biggest takeaway from it, to try to explain what I'm seeing, is what they did was they decided how much ownership share each conference has in the CFP LLC. Those percentages, I think, are ownership shares, and that will affect both voting and payout. So I think that's the unspoken truth, that's also the voting lines. Not sure what you guys think about that one, but that's actually kind of scary. If that's true.
Can flesh that out a little bit, I think, Immaculate.
Well, we saw
What do you
in
mean by that?
some tweets that some of the agreements that were made as part of getting this done, those cannot be changed as easily, but unanimity is gone. Doesn't exist anymore. So I'm positing that I do believe there's going to be it's either going to be a simple majority vote from now on, or like an absolute majority. So 50%, 60%, somewhere around there. There might be some unanimity in the whatever was agreed upon to not be touched. That would have to have unanimous vote. What those situations are, we don't know. This is a private company now, so they don't have to tell us everything, which is kind of ridiculous. But nonetheless, that's where I think we're going forward. So anything that's not protected by these agreements that were alluded to, the Big Ten and the SEC might be able to change that all on their own. If these percentages are their ownership shares in the company, then they are over 50%. And unless it's required for the absolute majority of 66%, they can get things passed themselves. And even at 66%, they're at 58. So they just need one other party to basically join them and, sign the dotted line, and they can push changes in the future. So that's the eye-opening part of this is, like we were trying to say earlier, I thought it was voting rights and payout rights that are going to be the things they're actually working on. They've come out and said they don't even care to really figure out the tournament for 26. They're probably going to sit back, watch the 2024 12 teams, see how it goes, see what's good, see what's bad. I think that they're done talking about this, though. I mean, think of how long they've been dealing with this in the rooms, how frustrating it's been for them. I don't think we're going to hear about CFP for a while, guys. Not until it's actual CFP time. So this is where we're at. This is what we're going to get. We got those numbers, percentages. I do believe those are actual ownership shares, which is going to be interesting in the future when they do the relooks, if there's any movement. Because if any part of this valuation at all was done based upon schools that participated in the previous playoffs, that means a school like Clemson has just gone up in realignment ranking value. Just by their movement alone might cause a considerable shift when they do the next ownership look-in. Florida State.
That's fascinating, actually.
They've been in one time, so they will carry some weight if they go. And a combination of Florida State and Clemson basically does to the ACC what we're seeing Oklahoma and Texas has kind of done to the Big 12. I would say, with those schools, I think the Big 12 would have been a much higher percentage than where it's at. I think with the addition of the Western schools, the Big 12 pushed its value up considerably. So if we get movement out of the ACC, I think we could see a big shift in this. But, hold your horses, Big 12 fans. That much of that value is probably going to go to the Big 10 and the SEC. So I think this is just going to get uglier when that happens.
I am with you 100%. I think it's going to get uglier when that happens. But I think the truth of the matter, if you were going to slice it by ownership percentages or power dynamics, I think it's 99% to 1% right now. The payouts might be roughly 60%, but I think that the Big Ten and the SEC are calling all the shots now.
Yep.
When there's a future look-in provision based on realignment, when they pluck up the ACC, it's going to be even a little bit worse and stuff. But all the leverage, all the power is coming from two parties, and everything else is everybody else is basically feeding off that, whatever they give them the scraps. So I think that we're kind of already there. It's just going to get even more polarized too, because they're pulling all the strings.
And keep in mind, the one thing that really helped me kind of get over I was getting a little frustrated with what I was watching happen, and the thing that kind of pushed me over to just kind of give in is the fact that ESPN, and I've alluded to this on Twitter, ESPN holds the broadcast rights to like every single bowl except for 3, and I think all of them that are actually in the tournament. Which means tournament is really just a tournament of bowls that they're scheduled in a way to work the tournament through. By having those broadcast rights, there was no other choice than to bow to ESPN in this. It's really kind of defeating. And if this is going to change in the future, they're going to have to get rid of the bowls or have a whole new system. Because right now, with them holding all the broadcast rights to those bowls, ESPN basically owns this. Like, I know we're talking about SEC and Big Ten own it, but they're just the highest value things that ESPN sees. Like, just because ESPN doesn't have a deal with Big Ten, they still know the value of it, and so they want them in there. And this is ESPN's tournament, and whether you want to say literally or just by proxy of owning all the bowls and their broadcast rights.
Really quick before I let you go again. Coos Corner's in the house, and we always like to bring on other contributing partners that we've got across the YouTube verse, if you want to call them that. Justin, I sent you a invite if you want to join us. I know you have family commitments. You might not be able to do it, but you're certainly welcome to join our panel for a few minutes tonight if you'd like, maybe a segment or two. I just wanted to get that out there. All right, you go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Coos, you're invited to bring the drink of your choice too. Of course, that's always welcome. Georgia Tech. Hey, St. Patrick's Day, guys. St. Patrick's Day.
I was like, is that absinthe? No.
Yeah.
Georgia
I don't
Tech?
celebrate
St. Patty's Day.
I don't celebrate that. I don't celebrate.
Why?
It. It's too close to Notre Dame.
Oh, jeez.
Gosh, Moan.
That's a pure Ohio State guy there.
We know we haven't gone on proper rants about these payouts. These payouts are such bull crap. I can't believe that the SEC and the Big Ten got away with this garbage, like the way that they're just totally screwing over the Big 12 and the ACC, especially like the Pac-2 with their $350,000 in payouts. Like, seriously, that's like wiping an Ohio State player's butt right there with like that much type of cash. Like, that's just the biggest joke right there, guys. Like, this has opened up the biggest advantage in sports history. Sports history. This isn't like European soccer, because European soccer, you can develop younger players to play in your system. This isn't like the MLB, because while the MLB doesn't have a salary cap, they do have a draft. And so everybody's drafting on the equal playing field and get the number 1 pick overall. All these schools in the Power 2 have an advantage in recruiting and budget and everything else. No other sport on earth is like this. And this dynamic's getting bigger and bigger. The gap's getting bigger and bigger. And like with these payouts, it's just absolutely bullcrap. I would never have dreamed in a million freaking years that they'd double up. The Power 2 would double up over the Big 12 and college football playoff payouts. We're not even talking about media rights distributions. We're talking about college football playoff payouts. Give me a freaking break. I cannot believe this is happening, but we're here. They've got all the powers. They've got us by the neck, and we got to fight back because I'm totally sick of it, guys. This isn't like anything else. This advantage is enormous. It's real, and you've got to speak out against it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No. I was just going to say, yeah. And I mean, to me, the voting rights are even more than the payout, because that means everything in the future that could come and be is controlled. So as much as the payout right now is like, wow, having that much control over ownership and voting is, to me, that's the more shocking part. That's
like what other sport on earth is allowing this type of advantage to 2 conferences, like the 2 basically divisions within their own sport? Can you think of any other sport on planet Earth? There's
no central government, and what there is of some type of central government in the NCAA is now being picked apart and torn apart. So they're all kind of pushing for power and control before the new, whatever the new is, comes in. You know what I'm saying? Like whether it's the autonomous conferences or that's some other organization that they form, whatever that's going to be, they're all scrabbling for power in the chaos right now, so that when they return to order, things have changed. You know what I'm saying? Like for better or for worse, that's what they're doing right now. Is they're fighting for power in this moment of chaos, so that way, when things get ordered up, there'll be a new order.
A new world order.
Now,
is coming.
the world of college football, yeah, and college
Absolutely.
sports.
Big.
Moen.
Yeah, I just want to say Moen was right. I called this earlier this week. It'd be wrapped by Friday. It's a wrap.
Kudos. Yeah.
Really, it's the Big 12 and the ACC were negotiating from positions of no power. They no longer needed unanimity. They couldn't afford to let the Big 10 and SEC walk away, so they had to do what they had to do. They got some asks. They got that look in 2028, or it's triggered if there's any conference realignment.
Realignment, yep.
Mhm.
Right. So that's the best that the Big 12 was probably going to get out of it. The ACC, on the other hand, signed their death warrant.
Yeah.
They literally tied the noose and said, just walk me to the gallows.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to agree with you.
And if people
We
don't know what he's
welcome
talking
to
about, he's talking about Florida State and their views of why they want to leave the ACC just got confirmed. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was just going to welcome Coos from Coos Corner to the show. Good to have you here.
What's
How are
up?
we doing tonight, Justin?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Pleasure to
So
join
good.
this esteemed group of gentlemen here.
good guy to have on a Friday night, man.
Even Richard
You're
Simmons. Hey, we
Did
even got
you-
Richard Simmons out of
Did you
hiding for
join
this
us?
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually wore the Richard Simmons wig, but I figured if I did the voice, I'd get canceled.
Yeah,
Oh my
maybe
gosh.
that's possible. We
Even brought my beverage.
Nice.
good. There you
Nice.
go.
Oh,
There we go.
excellent. There we go. There we go.
So now it's a real party.
Hey, Kuz, we've got to hear Kuz's thoughts here on the payouts,
Sure.
like the unequal payouts going on in the college football playoff now that they're
Right.
negotiated out. What's your thoughts on it from like the Big 12 perspective?
That's a really hard thought right there.
I think we
I think
just
he froze.
He's frozen.
I think
I
he
was just
froze.
making a joke.
you just screwed it up.
I was just making a joke about it.
Way to go, you.
It's all good.
We'll wait while we wait for Coos to come back and buffering.
He'll probably come back
Um,
just as he's saying his final word.
It'll
That's
probably
right.
be done by the time he comes back. Anyway, we could, while we're waiting for, maybe he'll even reconnect. Do you guys actually want to dive into the agreement? We can talk about points. I got an article queued up. I believe it's the Ross Dellinger one. Am I right, Immaculate, on that? Was that the Ross Dellinger one?
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
a choice between that or the ESPN, and I just kind of felt dirty offering the ESPN view today. So
No, this
Yeah.
is fine. Let's go over this. So
And
we're gonna
Ross
bring in-
Dellinger's been on top of the story all week. So
he has. He's
anything
been nails.
ESPN is doing is off his back.
I agree. All right. Well, let's dive into this until Coos joins us again, and then we'll hear his thoughts. So, so this is Yahoo Sports. Obviously, always try to give everybody credit for the work they do. Here is the link. I encourage everybody to go to the source, read the article. As you know, here we don't read it word for word. We sort of paraphrase and try to give you the highlights. But the title of this is Sources, College Football Playoff Agrees to New Contract with ESPN. We now know that's completed. Do you want to summarize this for everybody, Immaculate, really quick? Just give us the highest level.
it's basically everything that we have been talking about. Like they have just approved it. This went through so smoothly that it leaves you to go, how did this go so smoothly when it's been so rough beforehand? It was the ESPN deadline, and everyone agreed to it. There was considerable kind of consternation from the G5 on it, but everyone just kind of had to go through with it. Otherwise, you were basically saying you were not going to be part of the CFP in the future, because the only way they could do it was with ESPN. So, we've seen the numbers. It's 29% for the Big Ten SEC, 17.4, I do believe, for the ACC. There's a 14% plus some digits for the Big 12. And then as you get down into the G5 and Notre Dame, it's Notre Dame's like getting a direct payout. It was something like 10 million if I saw it correctly.
9.
Oh, I thought it was
9?
12.
9. They're actually kind of getting a pay raise
So is that number still fluctuating? Because I heard the article I read said 12.
I mean, it's somewhere in that range. They're basically getting assured that they're going to be paid the same amount as like a Big 12 or ACC school.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the range. So they've dropped. I mean, they
Right.
were getting paid.
They were. Yeah, they were.
They're actually getting paid more, but the percentage is weird. But the percentage is less.
Okay.
And they're not keeping up with the schools that they really want to compete with, which, they want to be at the top. They've actually been a part of the tournament, so they're in that league of those talks. The real shocking part in this, and we've been leading into it with some of the chats, is and I don't want to just focus on Oregon State and Washington State, because this is not just about them. This is about all independents. All independents are under fire. That $300,000 payment, UMass, we're going to use that as an example. UMass, we saw them. They just announced to go to the MAC. By going to the MAC and joining them, they went from making $300,000 a year off of this to making like $1.8 million. Talking about a 6 times jump in pay for UMass. Compare that to what OSU and WSU are going to make. I know people are taking it like it's all about them, and to some degree, there might have been some personal animus based upon everything that's happened. But it's not just about them. I mean, independence as a whole is being squeezed. Notre Dame just got pushed down to the next tier down in terms of money making off of that. And when you look at how much they're probably making less on their NBC deal than what everyone is making in the other two, I'm saying they're probably at like 45 to 50 million range. They're actually down more towards the Big 12 and ACC in pay now than they are with the SEC and the Big 10. So to people who say, oh, they're making so much more than the rest of the independents. Well, duh, it's Notre Dame, but they're being squeezed. All independents. Independence as a whole in college football is about to be over. I think you're going to see, because remember, Army moved, BYU moved.
Right.
So there's just that as a concept, we're about to think of that as history as soon as Notre Dame does their thing.
All right, Kuz is back. He's got us out of the wilderness. Somebody said you were getting a DDoS attack. So you're joining from your cell phone, I'm taking it.
I don't know what that a DDoS attack is, but
it doesn't
I'm getting
matter.
something.
I was making a joke.
I
joke.
don't know what the heck happened. I think my internet went out or something, so I got on my phone and I'm just using the phone's internet.
No problem.
It went over my head. I'm sorry.
So go ahead and finish what you were saying.
Yeah. The whole thing about the college football playoff revenue distribution, right? Is that what you asked about?
Yeah. What's your perspective on it, Kuz?
I mean, I think it just proves where we are. I mean, the SEC and Big Ten hold all the cards. The Big 12 basically has to take what they can get because they're going to have to bring in as much revenue as possible in order to survive. And they basically, it's either that or don't get anything, is the way I look at it. Beggars can't be choosers, and they've got to take it. ACC, same thing. You got to do what you got to do, right?
Yep. And it's
unfortunate, but it's where we are.
We lose a lot of the tangential things too, meaning all the extemporaneous stuff that's in the current deal, the side deals for Notre Dame and all this other stuff is now in a very flat scale. You're either in a conference or you're an independent or you're a G5. There is no, that's it. Those are the only tiers. So it really clearly defines if you decide to change conferences, you better be sure because you could be dropping in or out like Washington State and Oregon State absolutely got mugged.
And I'm of the opinion that unless you're in the SEC or Big Ten, at the end of the day, it's probably not going to matter. So, you do everything you can to get in one of those two conferences. If you're not in one now, and hope and pray that if you're a fan of one of a team that's not in it, that you get in it at some point. Because otherwise you're eventually going to get left behind.
This is a good question that's coming here from Stephen Vitt, and he's referring to a question follow-up from Greg Flugar, who's in the house. Good to have you here, Greg.
What's up, Greg?
We're talking about UConn. Greg's question is, where does UConn football end up? You're in the Northeast. If they have talked for over a year about going to the Big 12, do you think there's any chance that could happen in this next I'll say 3 years.
I think they have a good chance to get in on the next whenever that next wave is,
Okay.
because of Brett Yormark's passion for basketball, and because of what I think he's wanting to do with the conference. Whether I'm not necessarily a huge fan of that idea, but I do think that might be where he's trying to go in the future. And I actually don't think UConn's a bad addition, though. To be honest with you, I do think
Their
they bring some
football
things
is
to the table,
abysmal, though.
more
Their
so than people
football is
realize.
just horrible.
I mean, their football's not bad, not good right now. But I think if you give UConn more resources, they could be better in football. It is, but it could be better if it had. It could be better if it had better resources. I think.
What do you guys think?
They have to put forth more willingness to win and do what it takes to compete. And I think they would do that if they got into a conference. And we all know what they bring to the table in basketball. But my fear is, with the independents getting such a small amount of this revenue share, people like UConn are going to fall even further behind.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think?
Go ahead, Immaculate.
I'm finding it interesting that right now, while this is all going on,
Are you guys hearing me okay?
Yeah,
We can hear you, Coos.
can you hear us?
There's like a 5-second lag,
Hello?
Justin.
Uh-oh, I think we're losing him again.
Yeah, his internet's going out. There's a bit of a lag. That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we lost him.
he's gone again.
I think that UConn is interesting because Yormark right now, while all this is going on with the CFP, he's also been talking about what he wants to see with the basketball tournament and expansion. I think he's maybe on this situation, he realizes he just doesn't have a whole lot of pushback to really fight here, but maybe in return for not fighting, he can get some leverage on basketball tournament. And this isn't going to make people happy, but we've seen what Sankey has said. Sankey is pushing for AQs in the basketball tournament. That seems to be what he wants. And I could see Yormark being an ally of his in that. And he would want probably considerable AQs for the Big 12. And in that regard, if you have that, now you can start looking to getting yourself some big basketball schools, because you could be extending even beyond those AQs more with more of your teams getting in. So you might be trying to catch up through some means which we have not yet really calculated. So I would say right now UConn might be a little bit higher in realignment ranking. Not a lot, still down there. But now that we're talking 26, the talk about SMU and not getting payouts for 24, 25, I think that's kind of in the past now. I mean, even if they were to announce right now they're going to join the Big 12, they wouldn't join until 26. Like, that's 2 years out. So I'm not really thinking anymore about the situation we're going through. It's more about what's 26 going to bear. And if they expand that basketball tournament, I think UConn, he might try and push it. We'll see.
Yeah, I would only say about UConn that, in my opinion, I was high on them in the summer before the Pac-12 actually did move over. They were like an alternate, right? Everybody was looking at it as not as a replacement for a Utah or an Arizona State. Right now at this point, unless they go into a sort of lower ACC, I think UConn is screwed.
Yes,
and they should consider dropping football. They don't have a stadium to maintain. I would just shut the thing
Just
down
go
or
Big East?
play. Yeah,
Big
whatever. Play Ivy League. I don't care what they're doing with their football, but their basketball brand is so good. They need to pour all their money into that and become the preeminent outsider program. That's my advice to them.
Mon, what do you think about this?
Yeah, you already knows what I think. I have
We're about to say the same thing.
I have a strong belief in the Northeast corridor. Louisville, Pitt, Syracuse, UConn.
But Louisville's not Northeast.
It's still part of that corridor, though, that gets you from Mississippi up to the Northeast. It combines Louisville, Cincinnati, West Virginia, Pitt, Syracuse, UConn.
Okay. All right.
And that's where your population centers are. You need that population center to increase your value. It's what you need. That's why the Big Ten and the SEC are so valuable. Those population centers. It gets you into the New York market, which is very important in terms of money wise. You know, you want to complain about Rutgers being a shit team, but Rutgers more than paid for themselves with the New York market.
Yeah,
They
but
got,
I got a counterpoint to that though, because Bob Thompson has said it's not about markets anymore. It's not even about population centers unless you're LA. It's really
there
about
you go.
engagement.
Or unless you're getting into a new major market like New York.
Yeah, but the reason football's dying in the Northeast is nobody wants to play football up there. Nobody watches football up there. Syracuse would be a monster. Well, okay.
I disagree. People still watch football up there.
Well, you're in that area, so you definitely
Right.
have on-the-ground knowledge about what people are engaged with. All I can tell you is from growing up in the west side of the country, when you think about football, it dies right above West Virginia. It does sort of stretch to Rutgers,
I think
but
you would be shocked if you went to New York on a Saturday.
Okay,
Each team has their own bar there that's always packed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I listened to Bob Thompson. He said he wants engaged populations. He wants brands and people that are engaged with the system. And I just don't see that at UConn. I could be absolutely wrong though. You're on the ground. I'm not. So I defer to you.
All right, you go ahead and back me up.
They try to make us add.
Tell Nathan why he's
UConn,
wrong.
and I'll say,
Bomber doesn't know what we're talking about.
No. UConn to the Big 12. No.
You
I'll tell you what, though. There is an emerging candidate here.
Uh-oh.
As Moan just mentioned.
Uh-oh.
That needs to stick in every person here's mind as far as a good, strong Big 12 candidate here that nobody's talking about.
For a reason, probably.
Okay. No. Actually, it's a little higher up. Go a little north. Who else? Who's a little north of Pitt? Immaculate.
Canada.
In the ACC.
Yeah, nobody I care about.
Immaculate. Syracuse.
I don't think
You said north. I was like, it's Canada.
So check it out. So Syracuse is a very, very interesting view because really, on paper, they're actually a really strong candidate. It's just like in our preconceptions about brand and everything, where they've been in football. Mm-hmm. They're not as strong in our minds, but like models love Syracuse for the market, for the basketball history, even the football history. There's a lot to like there when you're actually putting them on paper against a lot of other candidates. UConn's an absolute no. No. Why would you add UConn when you could add Syracuse and just get the New York market anyway? It's one of the two. Throw UConn out. Consider Syracuse, and Syracuse might be actually a big-time player too for Big 12 expansion. Because again, like you get Madison Square Garden right there, like you're just slightly above New York City, Syracuse and stuff. You bring in that New York market, massive number one TV market in the U.S. Like there's a lot to like that your market's going to want to sell, and they actually have football, and their football team has a little bit of life, way more than UConn. So I think that Syracuse is the candidate.
I think Syracuse over UConn. I would consider Syracuse over UConn. I would take Syracuse as a replacement.
If you want a lot of people at ESPN to love you as well and like talk highly about your conference, bring in Syracuse, because I'd probably say a third of the people at ESPN went to Syracuse.
Well, let's ask
everybody listening. Note this: the first time Syracuse brought up as a legitimate candidate for Big 12 expansion.
Right here, right now.
It's right here on the Big Preview Friday show. Mo mentioned it first. Mo knows nails on it. Listen, seriously, I'm serious, guys.
Well, I just find it interesting that Moen looked to you for help, and you didn't give him any. And
well, he did. He got me right on Syracuse. I've been calling for Syracuse for a while.
I know you have too. I just thought it was funny about UConn. That's all. We got a super chat here, so you guys just shut up. Carrie for $9.99 member, thank you so much for being here. Says, what's up, fellas? I would love to see Florida State take down the ACC and ESPN. Crossing my fingers for Discovery. Everybody wants to see the Discovery. And how about a little let him cook there, Moen?
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
I've liked that better. That second clip better
The
than the
last part.
first one we
Right,
were
with
using.
Love it all.
the big extender at the end.
Carrie, thank you very much for giving us this $9 or $10. I really appreciate it. And more than important, I want to point everybody to this. Carrie's also a member, so he's giving us a monthly family, college football mafia family due as well. So we're encouraging everybody to do that. It's something that's fun to do, and I really think that we're building something here, and we'd love you guys to be a part of it. So please consider doing that. All right. All right. So we've all gone through. We've said our sort of pieces. Immaculate sort of gave us really, really top level. We didn't even really dive into the details. Do you just want to jump right into comments and let's just make this a back and forth tonight?
Yeah,
That's fine by me. Always fine with doing that.
You?
Yeah.
Okay.
Syracuse
All right.
Orange.
All right.
Syracuse
Well, then let's get it done. You guys keep highlighting comments and I will bring them up. All right. Let's start at the top. First, we're going to say, I'm going to make sure I'm using the right one. Is that? Yeah, that's better a little bit. Timothy Green from the beginning says, I can't wait to see Moen's outfit tonight. Oh, wait, I already saw that. Georgia Tech.
Yep,
Already
you've done that one already.
Yeah, I did. Why didn't that one get
Georgia
marked
Tech
off?
to you, Bomber.
That's
Tech.
Georgia Tech. Let's see if you see these. I did do these. Why are these highlighted then?
They just didn't get unchecked.
Well, you guys need to uncheck them after I do them.
You need to uncheck them, Nate. Come on.
Hey, I'm doing all the legwork here. Yormark Big 12. Okay, I already did that one. I did that one. I did that one. Sorry, I thought I was prepared, but I'm not. Steve-O, I know I didn't do this one. Internet says Boris Becker's been out of prison since December 22. Oh, so he's out of prison now. That's nice.
There we go.
Only served 8 months. Right. I'm just telling you.
The match
he was
is
convicted.
on.
He was convicted for 7. So, yeah, good. Good to know. Boris Becker's out there on the street. That's great. Let's see. Tawtown Hawk says, is Moen dressed for 1990s Nike commercial?
They'd have to be in black and white if it was a 90s Nike commercial.
Black and white.
Black and white, and you hear somebody talking out in the distance.
Here's another one for you. Mothpro says, Moen on the catwalk.
That's right.
Buckshot Kid. Here's some feedback we're at 100 people here. So yeah, this was an announcement I did earlier. About time. I've been wanting you on Discord. So I already had one created from years ago that I've been waiting to retool. I finally turned it on tonight. And I'm going to spend the next week building out our Discord server. It's going to be the core of everything we do for now on. All our communications, we're going to move to Discord. We're going to try to get off of Twitter. And we're going to use Twitter, but Discord is going to be for everybody who's really dialed in for insider information. If you happen to be a Discord expert, send me a DM. I want to talk. Okay? But yeah, that's coming. I hope to have that done in the next week. Moth Prof, one of our members says, can the Big 12 and ACC get 58% of the NCAA basketball tourney revenue? You've talked about this. Asking for a friend, initials, Brett Yormark.
Absolutely. That's got to be the play right there. And step one to that is to actually get the NCAA outside of organizing the basketball tournament, get their hands out of the pot because they can only get $1 million. They can only wring $1 million out of the NCAA tournament, turn it over to private equity who can yield $2 or $3 billion out of the NCAA tournament, and then make your arguments that you've got most of the NCAA tournament teams. You've got the best basketball in America. So basically throw a 180 at the power 2 in football and make yourself the power conference as the Big 12. But you can't do that until the NCAA is out of the picture. NCAA needs to get out of the picture for that to work.
Is there a chance that could actually happen?
I mean, with the NCAA and this in the courts and everything, who knows? I mean, it's a huge question mark there. And at the end of the day, if you trying to take your rights away from the NCAA tournament, right, maybe that's doable depending on how lawsuits go. And if the NCAA is going to exist and how they're going to exist and who they're going to govern, if it's going to be D2, D3, or continuing to be D1. But it's a possibility and it's a leverage play. So it's something that you need to consider if you're the Big 12, who's the strongest basketball conference.
The NCAA will cease to exist if they stop owning that tournament. So that's the leverage point to use on them. But they will never give up on that because it's basically be seppuku. And yes, I've been watching Shogun, so I'm using that term.
That Shogun I missed this week's, was it good?
Oh, dude.
It is the best show I have seen on
The
television.
most binge-worthy show ever that I can't binge watch.
Yeah, no, you can't binge watch it. No, keep going.
But anyways, so that'll never happen. They can't. They can't give up control of that, and that's the ultimate leverage point for anyone who's trying to get something out of the NCAA, whether it's governance or whatever. You leverage that tournament. So when you see your mark being the one going out in public, applying that pressure, and Sankey applying that pressure, you know they're talking on that, and that means Big Ten's working with them. Probably, I wouldn't be shocked if the Big East is actually talking with them and working with them too on that, because we saw that. We saw that in talks with the Big East, Big 10, and Big 12, maybe doing a Fox tournament. So they're probably also involved in this. But that's pressure to get the NCAA to do something else because they can't give it up. But I like the idea of them maybe bringing in a managing firm, like a private equity management firm, to come in and make more off of it. That's how you talk to the NCAA into going into something, because it's like, oh, we're going to get paid more and spend less on running it because it's not going to be run by a bunch of bureaucrats that don't know what they're doing. Yeah, I think that is absolutely something we could see in the future, but it'll be under NCAA ownership, because without it, they close their doors. They don't have enough funding to do everything they do.
All right. Moen, you agree there? I see nodding your head.
Yeah, I think the NCAA tournament needs to get yanked from the NCAA, quite frankly. They've maxed out with what they can do.
Yep.
And, I'm sure the Big Ten and the SEC could use the extra money.
If that was to ever happen, as Immaculate just said, the NCAA would cease to exist.
Yeah, and that's a lot of administrative work.
Yeah.
I don't think these conferences want to take on themselves.
Wait, so like the administrative work of just organizing the tournament locations, or like
doing everything with
like
every student, every bit of eligibility, everything, and these are things that are also, I think, law. It's kind of a pseudo government empowered group, but yeah, like when you go in and you look at their budget and you look at how many employees they have, you look at all the eligibility stuff they do, and also they're going over schools to make sure that they're treating the situation. There's just, you're talking like billions of dollars that are involved with this. Lots of people, not all of whom don't do a bad job. It's just a huge task to take on, and all the responsibility. I just think the conferences would rather have control over their decisions with voting, with autonomous governance, and leave all the rest of the crap to the NCAA rather than take it all on themselves. But
Right.
I think that's like worst case. This is not going anywhere. We're going to have to do this ourselves, but I definitely don't think they actually want to do that.
maybe private equity can pay the NCAA to file the paperwork.
Well, there you go. I love it.
Just NCAA can be a consultant to file the paperwork, and then private equity can run everything else. Private equity can do it better than the NCAA anyway. Those guys, they suck.
Yeah, you get them to come in as a managing firm to run the tournament, but
Look, so they're not controlling the $1 billion, and then in the TV contract that they negotiated with Turner. Like seriously, why doesn't Fox have a cut of the NCAA tournament?
Okay, so you just made me think Endeavor needs to buy the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Endeavor.
They're talking to the Big 12 about it, so
right now,
I'm sure
this
it's come
second,
up.
I guarantee you, Brett Yormark's at the Endeavor offices, and he's going, guys, this is the opportunity right here. Buy the thing. All right, go ahead. Oh, what the heck? We've got some gifted memberships out there. Moen, what is going on?
We bought
Can't
some
hear you.
memberships
Oh, there
for
you
some people here.
Whoop, whoop.
Sorry, I had to mute it to get the
That's
other
okay.
page open. To Master was gifted a membership. Amazing Blue, we're going to remove that membership just for that name. Nunn was gifted a membership. Douglas Zickafoos was gifted a membership, as was Ramesh Lance. Enjoy those memberships, fellas.
And when you get those memberships out, I believe we gave those out tonight.
Yes, we did.
Make sure you thank who gave it to you, which is me. And then what you should do next is pay it forward and give somebody else a membership. That's how this usually works. It's a cycle. They're not very expensive, and you get access to Wild Ute University. Which, let me bring that up again. I did that at the beginning of the show. I'm going to do it again right now. You guys can disappear. This right here is Georgia Tech drinking game. There you go. There's some Georgia Tech guys. This is a members only video. Georgia Tech possibly to the Big Ten. So the question mark. These videos are produced by Wild Ute, and we assist them as much as we possibly can. They're members only videos. They come out and you guys have access to them. And it's not just one. We have a whole raft of videos that we've now put in here that you guys can listen to that are specific. They're short. Most are under a half hour. And they will give you information. Nobody else is doing these. People, nobody else is doing these to this level. We are the number one quality service that does this out of all YouTube. If somebody can find something that's better than this, I want to see it because I don't think it's out there. So that's what membership gets you, is access to these videos when they come out. That Georgia Tech to the Big Ten, when does that come off, Moen?
It'll be next week.
Okay.
Next
All right.
Friday.
So, yeah. Anyway, so thank you very
But I
much.
If you liked the Big Ten model,
Big 12. That's what I was just going to promo.
I'll tell you, the Big 12 model is freaking nails. I'm so excited to roll it out to you guys. I was actually just I threw some info over to Moan yesterday. We were just like kind of just throwing ideas back and forth and just getting too excited about it because it's freaking sweet. The Big 12 model will actually tell you a little bit different than the Big 10 model. It's actually going to tell you how much stronger a candidate in certain areas compared to another candidate. And so you're not just looking at like, hey, here's the stack ranking of 1 through 16 or 18. You're actually getting like, okay, if an average Big 12 team is considered a 1, then like, hey, like KU basketball is actually a 3. It means 3 times stronger than the average Big 12 team. So this one tells you that kind of information. It's really cool, really revealing too. So yeah, look forward to the Big 12 model.
Cannot wait. Let's see here. We got a super chat that came in right before the gift membership. So I apologize for being late getting to this Rock and Rant. A member, very valuable member of the community for $10. First, thanks to FSU lawyers for adding Miami in several times in latest responses. Their legal briefs are just genius reading, by the way. The ACC did not get proper 2/3 approvals. 2x, 2 times they did it. It did not do it. Can't wait to see how many times they violated the laws of itself, which is the ACC. So Rock and Rant, who's a Miami fan, just so we're clear and honest and open about who we're talking about here. Thank you, Rock and Rant, very much for that super chat. Who wants to answer that one, or everybody, whatever?
Oh, I can answer it.
Go for it.
Let
Please?
him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said, let him cook.
There you go.
You enjoy that.
He's absolutely right. Miami's got to look forward to being in the Big Ten here shortly.
That's right. Hey, who doesn't think Miami's going to end up in the Big Ten? Immaculate, are you would?
Me kind of.
No. Whoa.
Oh, go ahead and go with his first. I'll
It's
tell you
either
what I'm thinking.
look, Clemson or Miami is left out.
Really?
I'm on record saying that.
I'm hesitantly leaning now towards Clemson. If the valuations that we're seeing right now with the CFP are directly harnessed and wrapped around the necks of the schools that previously were in the CFP, Clemson's realignment ranking value, and just kind of in my head and how we figure things out, in my opinion, has gone up. And when you look at the Big Ten and the SEC, and while they're even percentage, the Big Ten has 2 more schools, so it's suggesting a slight under the SEC in value. That might mean that they would want to take Clemson to improve that for that next window that your Mark wants. I can see the Big Ten now. Clemson is snuck in. I'm leaning Clemson right now. I'm over Miami, which shocking to me that I would think that, but that's probably the biggest thing that has changed in my view since the CFP announcements.
You're halfway there, Immaculate. You're halfway there. It's going to be Clemson and Miami at 50% revenue distribution each for the first contract cycle to equate to 1 basically for the first
Where's
contract
Florida
cycle.
State?
Florida State's 100. Sorry. Rocky
Oh,
Mountain.
so
No,
you're
that's
saying
not
more
right.
than 2? to the
They're
Big 12.
taking 3 teams.
Oh, they're taking those 3 and Notre Dame.
Okay, I was gonna say he's thinking
So
Notre Dame.
there's going to be a 22 team Big Ten. It's going to be with Clemson, Miami, Florida State, Notre Dame.
Wow.
Notre Dame's going to get 100% revenue distribution. They're not going to get 110 because Moan told us last time that Big Ten won't do it. So they're going to get 100%. Florida State's going to get 100%. And that's going to be the first 2 invites out there. The Florida State one's going to be the first one. Notre Dame's going to be committing soon after that. And I think that they're going to put the pinch on Miami and Clemson to take less than 100%, just like Oregon and Washington. It's going to be the same exact thing. So they're going to both jump over for 50% during the first contract cycle. Then, of course, after the first contract cycle, there'll be 100% revenue distribution. So I see all 4 of those schools going to the Big Ten.
Good points, and you're right. Notre Dame would be the one that allows it to go past.
I think
Well,
Notre Dame is the outlier of all these.
And
guesses,
I want to
right?
be clear. What I'm saying is I think Clemson's valuation of going to the Big Ten has gone up. I'm not necessarily saying Clemson ends up in the Big Ten. I think this is for the SEC, for them to take Clemson. They wanted to see some of that value put on Clemson so that way it pays out by taking them into the SEC. If it was as it was before, I don't know if there's enough value in it, but now there's considerable value for them to take Clemson. I'm actually with someone in chat who's saying like Clemson and North Carolina as a pair to the SEC, and maybe more. We'll see, but that's just my thing. Is Clemson has just kind of rocketed up the rankings in terms of value.
I should have qualified my response by saying, "What is your time horizon, Ute? Are you saying in 8 years they're going to be there? Or are you saying in
No,
because my
no,
horizon is like 2026?
Yeah,
2
I
years
think,
away.
yeah, I would say 2 years or less.
Okay, all right.
That's the time horizon's 2 years or less. I think Florida
Okay.
State's going to be shooting 1 to drop. Notre
Oh,
Dame's
yeah,
going to be shooting
right.
2 to drop. Then all of a sudden there's going to be like kind of a frenzy and everything, just like in the pack. And I think Miami and Clemson come for half after. That's exactly how I see it. Like 50%, 50%. Like it makes plenty of sense.
Okay.
It's a win-win for all parties.
All right. Moen, do you want to see? Everybody knows
Yeah,
your
I don't
opinion.
see
Go ahead.
Clemson. Clemson's not going to make it into the Big Ten. They're an SEC team. They'll wind up in the SEC along with North Carolina.
For what reasons, though?
Because they've won. Because of their national championships they've won in the last decade, that will carry them in their value to them, and because they're not going to be able to get the SEC's not going to be able to get Florida State. That's going to be their consolation prize is Clemson.
So you think the SEC is just going to go crazy and really go after Clemson? And that's why.
Yeah, I think for the brand, they're going to want Clemson. They need somebody to pair with North Carolina. It's going to be North Carolina, and then they might add a Virginia, but I don't think that they necessarily need to add a Virginia. I don't think.
I think Virginia actually is dropping.
Yeah, I think Virginia might stay in the ACC.
I think they will. They'll be the anchor, especially if Notre Dame. Virginia will be the pole sitter in the ACC. I absolutely think they got caught up in this whole legal thing, right? But North Carolina, we all know, has a bigger value for several reasons. Mainly the brand is the separator between the two. Who even knows what a Cavalier is, right? Most people don't even know they play sports. And they're a fine university. They're one of the oldest in the country, and yet nobody knows who they are. So Virginia, I think, is going to be the champion of the much diminished ACC here pretty soon. They're going to be left out a little bit.
The one thing that doesn't make before we leave this, Gabe, the Clemson thing doesn't make any sense. Like why SEC would already like dip into the territory.
I don't think they will. I don't
like that's the thing is like they own that market already. They're just going to piss off the constituent in South Carolina doing it, but they have it land through UGA. So I just don't see what the upside is. Like there's no way the SEC is getting. Well, the SEC is making $90 million a year. How's Clemson ever going to be accretive if they can only bring the brand and nothing else? You already own everything else.
Brand, they're a national brand now. It is what it is. This last decade, I know that they slipped last year, but this last decade of dominance, they have become a national brand, just like Oregon is. The brand value is there in Clemson for the SEC to take them.
let me just do one comparison, and then we got a bunch of super chats. We want to keep
Okay.
everybody moving, but that's not on you, Mo, and it's we're all talking. The one counterpoint I would say to your Clemson and the brand part, I kind of look at them in football like Gonzaga is. What happens when Dabo leaves? Just like when Mark Few leaves at Gonzaga, who are they but a little college, the Catholic college in the Pacific Northwest? I don't know once Dabo leaves, how does that retain? Clemson was good in 1980.
That's the same thing with any program like that, though, Nate. That's the same. What happens when? Well,
no, there are programs that. No. There are programs that are bigger than just their coach.
Okay, but what happens when Dan Lanning leaves Oregon?
Well, Oregon is under it by Nike. Well, so they will never go back.
Yeah, but I'm saying Clemson has the same national brand.
Okay,
so they're obviously when Dabo leaves, they'll go hire a top tier coach. Yeah. They're not gonna.
They still have amazing all that money that they've gotten. They've spent it. They've built up. Their stadium is a great stadium. Fills up every time. Their fans are pretty heavy duty. I could see ESPN wanting them in the SEC.
But are they 70 million good?
Yeah, and especially now that if all that CFP value is around their head, I think so.
Okay. All right.
At least they're a lot closer. I mean, if the SEC, maybe this is a negotiation between them and ESPN, like ESPN is saying, we don't want them to land in the Big Ten. To me, they have landed in the defensive realm, kind of like how I've seen as FSU.
Right.
I now see SEC taking them has some defensive value.
Okay.
Because you don't want that value to go to the Big 12 or the Big 10 and improve their lot when they have that open window discussion about CFP ownership.
Let's move along. I'm sure we'll come back to Clemson.
We're coming back to Miami and Clemson.
They're going to drive this next layer, especially in realignment and stuff. Sergeant Pickles, one of our teammates here at College Football Mafia, says, "Shame it's such a quiet news week." And cheers.
I can't wait for a quiet news week.
He actually left off Georgia Tech for some reason. I don't know what happened there, but I took care of that for you. Tony Lawson for $5. Thank you so much, Tony. With the Dartmouth ruling, our immaculate, and with the Dartmouth ruling, our private school less desirable now. Fun fact: Madison is considered the Chernobyl of the Upper Midwest. He just cannot get away from.
Him and Ryan Willie.
Yes, that's right. Ryan Willie. They go.
They do have a nuclear reactor there, so.
Well, we got Ryan Willie super chats coming next.
No, what? Immaculate? Are you joking?
No, there's multiple universities that have nuclear reactors for testing and research purposes, and Madison.
I think Illinois does too.
University of Idaho.
No, Chicago does.
Yeah, University of Idaho does.
I think the University of Utah actually has that too. There was like a girl in the program that threatened to.
I think it's
blow it up. That's right.
The crazy story is I think Washington State has the largest. It's like 10 megawatts, and all these other ones we're talking about are like 1 or 2 megawatts. Like literally, Washington State is the biggest nuclear testing university in the country, I think.
So it's really quick. Answer this, and we'll move along. The Dartmouth thing.
Mm-hmm.
Are they less desirable now?
Yes and no, because if you go back to 2014, Northwestern went through the same process, and they lost, and they appealed, and they won their appeal because the court said that they had to compete in a conference like the Big Ten with all those public schools that have all the funding, and so it would have made them competitively unadvantaged, and that would have caused more hardship on the students than they were helping. Blah 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 blah. Point being, I actually think some of these private universities, it's changed my idea on the ACC of the future. What they might do is they'll need some public schools to help them with that. So I don't think it damages them in that, but I think it, they need to be valuable enough because you are maybe inviting those lawsuits sooner, because they're gonna hit public schools first, but it's all coming around. Like, this whole labor law thing's coming after the publics too, the employment status. It's just hitting the privates first because it's easier targets.
Okay. Anybody else want to add anything to that? We can move right along. If not,
Notre Dame's going to bend the knee to the Big Ten soon. They're going back to this private school thing.
That's flashing news, right? Headline
You
news.
know what, Moan, for you, I'm going to make a thumbnail when Notre Dame goes to the Big Ten. The thumbnail is going to have the Irish guy bending his knee to the Big Ten.
Oh, that reminds me of something. Get to the super chat, mate, but then I want to bring something up with the audience. So
Okay.
Uh-oh.
All right. Uh-oh. All right, let's see here. Ryan Willie's patiently waiting. I doubt he's patiently waiting. $20 super chat, and Ryan Willie's a member, saying, with Monty saying, I don't know why you're bringing up Monty to us, but with Monty saying that the Big is a pushover conference, I hope Notre Dame finds out the Big isn't a pushover conference as soon as possible. They'll only beat Illinois, Minnesota, Northwest Purdue, Nebraska on a regular basis. Go ahead, Big Ten people, answer that.
I mean,
Monty knows about pushovers. The fact looks like he's eating quite a bit of them with his terrible midlife crisis tattoo sleeve. Yeah, I don't give a shit what Monty says.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about what Monty does. He either needs you to love him or hate him, and he doesn't get very much Big Ten viewership. I don't think so. Might as well make them hate me. Maybe then they'll come and watch me. So it's just
he's a clickbait magnet.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's all
he's,
clickbait.
He's very good at it. I'm sure he'll get a bunch of them to click and go watch him and yell at him while he gets.
Ryan, I know you're over there because every once in a while I have to admit I dip into his show every once in a while because he's here in Salt Lake, and I see that you're there participating, and that's great. You do whatever you want with your time, but I wouldn't give him any money. I don't even care if you give us money, but I certainly wouldn't be giving him any money because it's just encouraging his clickbait badness. And sorry,
Sure.
I had to have a little bit of a preach moment there. Expedition Greg gifting a membership. Let's get a sounder for that one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much, Expedition Greg. Who got that gift there, Moen?
Thank you.
That went to Go Black 45.
Go Black 45. Make sure you thank Expedition Greg for that fine gift. Thank you, Greg. We appreciate it. And make sure you guys pay it forward. If you get a gift, give somebody else one.
I need to play a sounder for Ryan Willie, though.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I'll go back to
He
Ryan.
didn't get one. He didn't get one. So,
yeah, go ahead.
It's so hard to pick from all of these.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said, let him cook.
All right. Is that really what Georgia Tech would say? Come on.
Sure.
All right.
Oh, man.
All right, Moen. You want to rant for a moment?
No, I just wanted to bring something up. We've got some emoji slots that we've unlocked with all the members we've got. If you guys want to just shoot us in the chat, give us some suggestions, new emojis for members. I know we've got plenty of Georgia Tech and drinking ones and whiskey ones. So anything you guys want to see in there, you got a good idea, go ahead and fire it off in the chat, and I'll take it under consideration. And we'll try and add some more emotes for the members of the chat.
Those Georgia Tech emotes are amazing. They're amazing.
I can't believe somebody took the time to put those together. That's what I think about that. Becky Go Huskies, another one of our partners and contributors on the College Football Mafia Network. Becky says for $5, who's also a member, says Georgia Tech and also Missouri's reactor is the largest at 10 megawatts. She would know. She's up in Washington, so she could tell you.
They got one of the top ones, though, and it's just interesting.
Well, I know they're next to one of the plutonium manufacturing capital of the world is where I'm from. So it's in Washington. It's on the Columbia River. And there are several nuclear reactors.
Just remember, before we screw over Washington State too much, remember, they are a nuclear powers. Okay.
That's
don't mess with them.
Them in California in the country. That's true. Yeah.
I like that when Nate said that, he goes, I'm from the capital of the plutonium thing of the world. And Immaculate goes, makes sense. Makes sense.
Hey, look, we used to tell everybody that when we would travel as kids, when we would visit and say where we're from, I would tell people we glow at night.
No way.
Yeah. That's
Awesome.
true fact. You can
That's
look it up
awesome.
online. It's on Google. Anyway.
That you guys actually glow at night?
That's a secret. You'll have to see me. Any chance Clemson joins the Pac-12? Wow. I didn't read the rest of that. I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
That is funny.
Man.
Becky, you are awesome. That
Brutal.
Hey, if Clemson joined the Pac-2,
Oh my god!
what would the media rights contract look like, guys?
$15.
What's it?
$15.
What if it was the three of them, though? Do you think that like the media rights?
$20
like,
maybe.
$20.
$20.
What if like 6 teams just broke apart and all went to go join that, and you had your 8-team conference that would
Depends on the
pass all
teams that
NCAA
went.
rules? I know.
I would
That's
call
exactly
it
what
the
I'm
Will Work
saying.
for Food Conference. That's what I would call it.
I don't know. Anyways, it won't happen. But I mean, damn.
Yeah. All right. So that's all the super chats. That's I'll just get back into comments. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew we cleared
that was
those out.
good
Thank
stuff.
you very much for the super chats. Thank you very much for the gifted memberships. Love to do that here. We're just after an hour. Want to thank everybody for being here tonight. It's been a fun night. Hope you make us a regular thing. Here's the schedules. I'm going to put in the banner that shows all our schedules. Please catch us at any one of these times that are running down there in the banner. And yeah, we love to have you around. It's a good community, and we're getting bigger. Bigger things are on the horizon. I promise you that. And it's only going to get bigger, stronger, faster. Thank you for being here. Make sure you subscribe and follow us all on Twitter. Turn on your notifications. Okay. Let's get back to comments. So let's say it the way he's got it. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
You've
Mom.
actually got one more gifted membership here. Go Black paid it forward.
He did.
And gave a membership
kidding.
to Jason Ritchie. Thank Go Black in the chat if you were
Yeah,
here,
thank you,
Jason.
Go
If
Black.
not, make sure to thank him in the comments if you're watching on demand. Thank you so
No,
much,
that's
Go Black.
special.
Winner.
Appreciate that, man.
Winner.
Not only does he do it, but he's a member already. So you
But he
know
just-
it's that.
Well, he
thinking.
just got gifted a
Just
membership.
got it.
and then he paid
Oh,
it
okay.
forward.
All
Paying
right.
it forward.
Okay.
That was
But
very
nice.
thank you very much for that. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Go Black, and you've been around here. You've been around a long time. We really appreciate you being here. So help me here. Somebody say this so I won't screw it up.
Ex-Mossy Talks.
Ex-Mossy Talks. Ex-Mossy Talks. Okay. Next time this comes up, you can say his name because I don't think I can say that.
I thought maybe the
Spanish
X's were
nickname.
just surrounding the name, and he was
Ex-Mossy
Mosito
Talks.
C, but I guess not.
It was actually a Spanish nickname from 30 years ago. Very cool. That's really neat. Thanks for sharing. Let's see. Moth Prof says, is it possible that your mark took a little less now for a promise? First of all, I'm going to give you my guess, and then they can say, I actually think yes. I think when we found out that he was talking to them and he told us I believe it was on a 365 Sports, those guys are awesome, interview, Dave Aranda, no, not Dave Aranda, who's their SID or athletic director? Anyway, I'm spacing his name right now, but
Mark Rhodes?
Yeah.
Mac Rhodes.
Mac Rhodes, yeah.
Yeah, he said he spoke to Brett, and he said that he was in very high level, constant communication with the Big Ten and the SEC during all this.
Mhm.
And I do believe they see the dying ACC and figured we don't need to spend a lot of time there. And I do believe that they are doing backroom deals. But you guys, what do you think?
I think we all think that that's coming, and I think now that the CFP situation is kind of in the books, that's where a lot of focus is going to go right now. Focus is going to go on all the legal issues, governance, NCAA, but also on the ACC. They're going to want whatever is going to happen before 26. They're going to want to have whatever new discussion for ownership or whatever. They're going to want that before 26, when they go to figure this out. When they say they're not in any hurry to create anything right now, they probably want to know what they're going to have, what conferences are going to be what, who's going to be where. So I think big time pressure is now going to start getting exerted in the ACC way from all directions, from ESPN, from these other conferences. We have just shifted. I mean, Friday night, I think this is our last time talking about the CFP for a while. Then I think ACC talk's going to get started soon next week.
You guys want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and I think that that's absolutely happening. I think that there's a lot of, back-end conversations and everything, promises, and really what it is relationship building. I think Yormark and Petiti are building a really tight relationship. I mean, these guys are like the real college football mafia members right here. Like, we got to bring these guys into this community, man.
Yep.
Petiti and Yormark, man. Just imagine Brett Yormark kind of having a conversation and treating you to like wine or whatever. That guy's going to bring out the best stuff you could ever imagine, just to wine and dine you. This guy knows what he's doing. He's a freaking baller, man.
Yeah,
He's
I
a
think
dog.
of him
These
as.
guys are dogs.
I think it's like Hannibal Lecter though, where it's like Sankey and Petiti walk in, and he's like, "Quid pro quo, Sankey."
Maybe
Sankey is not. Sankey can't be in the crowd. It's definitely Petiti and
I think it's a Brett Yormark and Petiti world. Sankey's about to.
Yeah, Sankey just doesn't really belong with those guys. Those guys are real mafia dudes.
Not really. Here's another follow-up from Nathan Campbell. By the way, this is a deep hint, deep take, if you want to put it. Anybody who uses my name in a message, I'm going to put on TV. Just so you know, you guys use my name in your comment, and there you have a pretty good chance of it popping up on the screen because I'm just that self-centered. Nathan Campbell says, Bomber, he also talked to the Houston president. So now we have two. Dave, who did I just say? Anyways, doesn't matter. So two sources say Yormark's in there doing business. That's pretty cool. Thank you very much, Nathan. I appreciate that. Don Scruggs says, what's going on with the Big 12 spring practices? Does it look like you guys will have a couple of teams? Who's going to make it? Ute, I'll give that to you first.
Yeah, definitely a team is going to make it right here, guys. Utah Utes right here. They're going to be the third seed in the college football playoff.
That's not how you spell BYU.
BYU.
I'm just saying you've got the wrong letters up there is all I'm saying.
No,
you need me to give you I have an extra pennant. I can give it to you. You put it up.
So YBU, come on, Bomber. No, the Utes are going to win the Big 12 this year. Everybody knows that. KU is going to give a good fight. K-State's going to give a good fight, but the Utes will prevail with Cam Rising, who's going to be a legitimate Heisman candidate. So just watch for it. It's going to be, seriously.
As long as he stays uninjured.
He's a legitimate retirement candidate.
I think
point. How old is he?
He's a DL candidate is what he is. He's going to be on the disabled list, I think.
Come on, guys.
His history of getting hurt is he's broken, Ute.
You know who we have as a backup, though?
I don't.
Zach Wilson, the BYU great Zach Wilson. His little brother's waiting in the wings here.
Well, he just had
surgery. Lock up your
though.
mothers.
He just had surgery, though. He's not going to be playing anytime soon.
Isaac Wilson, remember the name.
Next year. Remember the name for next year. You can't tell that Ute and I,
Oh, of course. We're just letting you go.
They came to watch. We need to do it. We need to do an old Holy Rivals show, Ute.
It's nothing personal, Ute. I'd take shots at BYU if I knew any of their players' names. So.
Oh, shots fired. Yeah, it's going to be a minute.
Bomber, how many players do you know on BYU's roster? Can you name more than 5 players?
You know what? I know most of the defense. The offense is, to be found. I'm not sure. So we're going to find out. This year's going to be, we've got a very challenging schedule. And I will say right now that Brett Yormark wants Utah in the playoffs so bad. He gave him the second easiest schedule in all of college football, right behind UConn. They have the easiest schedule, quickest path to the playoff. That's a fact. And Ute is nodding his head up and down. He knows
that's an Iowa fan. I could say there's nothing wrong with that.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it is what it is.
Okay. On a plate.
It's like someone serving you a nice filet mignon versus serving this guy a New York strip. I can be like, I'm not having this. No.
It's like, Good
so
point.
after Utah, who is it? We've been joking, but the second part of the question is after Utah, who's the second team?
Kansas.
It's KU.
Okay.
Kansas.
Yeah, I think Kansas
maybe
is
Arizona.
the leader.
I'm watching Arizona as the sneaky. I think they're gonna have something going on up here with everything that's going on there, and how many of those guys decide to stick around behind. That their quarterback, man, he's gonna be a star someday. Like genuinely a star. This could be that year.
Fafita is amazing.
Fafita's amazing, and they've got that stud receiver, but they've lost a lot. And Fish leaving, he was an offensive genius. I just don't believe
you could be right.
I want to see it. I want to see him doing.
I'm a big psychology guy when it comes to this, and I think that they're going to be on top of that there. So, but you are right. It's not the same team, but he's special, dude. He's a very special quarterback.
Moen, did you want to add anything to that discussion?
No, I think it's Kansas is number 2, clearly. I
Okay.
think Kansas
All right.
is my dark horse candidate to make a run in the playoff.
I think I will say this. I think that Utah is going to find that the Big 12 isn't as easy as it looked 2 years ago from the outside. That's all I can say. The Big 12 is tougher. A trip to, do you guys go to West Virginia or do they
What?
come to Salt Lake?
No, Bomber. Like, I mean,
I'm
you
just
got to
dead
be honest. Like,
serious.
OU and Texas are not in the conference anymore. How's it tougher now to win the Big 12?
Well, you'll find out. I'm just saying it's
Okay.
cautionary tale. I'm
We'll
just letting you
see.
know.
It's wide open.
But you didn't answer my, what did I just asked a good question. I thought about it. What the hell was my question?
What about West
looked like you did.
Virginia?
Yeah, do you guys go to West Virginia?
We do not play West Virginia. Utah does not play
Okay,
West
see, you
Virginia
get
this
there.
year.
You go. I can tell you right now, you got
Yeah.
the easiest schedule. All
The
right,
toughest game on the schedule is at Oklahoma State. That's a tough one.
that's another one that is. Yeah, I agree. Ryan Willie, super chat. He's also a member. Thank you very much. He's offering Tony a ceasefire. Okay, so they've been going at it for weeks. Ryan Willie.
Wisconsin is surrendering to Minnesota.
Well, Ryan
Yeah.
Willie, maybe his checking account is empty, and I mean they've been doing this for a while. He might just be running out of money. So a ceasefire.
I think it's a decoy. Don't fall for it, Tony.
It's a feint.
It's a feint.
Didn't
Let's
Tough
be
Tony
friends.
just drop that
Let's be
Chernobyl
friends.
quote for the Madison Chernobyl quote?
Oh, brother. All right. Here's another. Oh my gosh, another super. Sorry, I'll get to that in a second. Another super chat. Tony coming back to Ryan. Shots fired. 48-hour ceasefire agreed to. I know Iowa roster well. I read the arrest reports for illegal gambling in
Wow.
Iowa.
What's this little red button do? Right.
We don't have a dump button.
Yeah.
This is not radio.
Tony's hammering Ryan tonight. Wow.
Oh,
Ryan's all over.
He gave him ceasefire. He's declared war now on Iowa.
Yeah, well,
Tough Tony is back.
We'll see you on Sunday, guys, for that full war.
oh my goodness. All right, that's brilliant. Here we go. So John and somebody help me here. Bardaki?
There you go. That's what I
Okay.
would go with. The J is silent.
Okay. How is any of this financially sustainable? This was way at the beginning of the show, so we're probably talking about some of the stuff we talked about earlier. But what do you guys think about that?
I just think the sheer number of games, the amount of content, the amount that it's gone up seems pretty commensurate with that. So I mean, if we're just talking about the CFP being financially sustainable, I think that's pretty solid. All the rest, if this is a bigger question about the bigger picture, that's a really good question. I don't think we have the answer for that, and it's going to be proven out in time.
Anybody else?
Financially sustainable. I mean, college sports is red hot. College football is the second most popular sport behind the NFL in the U.S. So there's demand there. It's not waning demand; it's increasing demand for football content. So media rights are going to be there in the future. They're there right now. There's probably going to be more money made in the future, although it's probably going to slow a little bit as far as the growth. Right now, we're in a tight media market, and still the SEC and the Big Ten are making 6 times more on their college football playoff payouts. The real question, though, is the gap, though, right, between the Power 2 and the Big 12 and the ACC, G5 and the Pac-2, and that's a tougher question right there, and that's why the rant happened earlier. And every time I'm just thinking about it, my temper flares here. So just is a bunch of bull crap.
Moen?
Yeah, it's financially sustainable because, trust me, ESPN is not cutting a $1.3 billion check unless there's a return on it. They're more than covering that. So it's financially stable for the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Big 12 and the ACC. It's going to be tough on the G5s. They're making more money than they've ever made before, but they're still taking a significantly less than the other conferences are.
Yeah, they're being put into a feeder role, taking places where coaches get experience, players can break out and move up, but they're being treated like a feeder league. People keep thinking that they're going to get left behind, and I'm just looking at going, for that cost, for them to train up all of your coaches and to give you this whole lineup of players to transfer in after they've proven themselves somewhere. You think the Big Ten and SEC want to kill that? No, not at this point in time. Maybe before NIL and transfer portal, you can make that argument. But these days, those guys are worth that cost. 10% of your cost going towards all of your feeder system. I mean, I would say they're undervalued just for that alone.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, John. Appreciate your comment. We really do. Ryan Thomas is here for $1.99. Help me out here, Ryan, for BYU support, brother. I'm a man on an island sometimes. He's saying Big 12 champ game, KSU, UAU. Sorry, University of Utah. WU explodes with conflict.
I think that he's talking about West Virginia.
Okay. Explodes.
Man, what a great game prediction, Ryan Thomas. Booyah. Can we give him a winner, Moan?
Winner.
I love that one. Yeah, K-State,
good
Utah.
game.
Be a really good game.
Okay. Well, there you go. He's Mr. BYU. If he's not putting BYU in there, that means something. That's all I'm saying. Ryan, thank you very much. Appreciate your super chat. It's always great to see you. Let's see here. Moving right along. We are doing business here, guys. Conundrum. Good to have you here, Conundrum. Question, is there a look-in provision in the new Irish NBC contract? Do we know that, Immaculate?
We don't know much about this other than that they are being forced to have a reality TV show hooked in with their football team. We don't know how much they're getting paid, which, I mean, keep in mind, if the Irish were very happy about how much they're getting paid, we would have heard how much that is. So it's a little bit lower, but in terms of a look-in provision, all we know is it lasts till 2029, right? Thinking if I'm saying this right, yep. And that kind of coincides with when the Big Tens is. So if that's where they're going, they don't really need too much of that. Now, in terms of if we're talking about looking for the CFP, it's just if they go somewhere else to make a deal, someone's going to have to make NBC happy because they actually have their home game rights. So,
right,
there's that.
Yeah, if Notre Dame joined the Big Ten, NBC would be very, very happy.
I think so too.
They'd probably get first pick, just like how Fox gets first pick of Ohio State and Michigan.
Right.
NBC would
there would
get
have
first
to be
pick.
some
Probably Notre
arrangement.
Dame, USC.
They could fold those games in too to their overall Big Ten contract. So, yeah, I don't think they necessarily even need a look-in provision. I think if they're independent, they're not tied to anybody. So, yeah, I think that's just I think it's just a natural progression conundrum, I think is what we're saying for you. Thank you for your comment, though. I appreciate it. Ryan Thomas, back at it, says, Wild Ute, WU, stands for Wild Ute explodes in conflict over Big 12 championship.
I love both schools, but I'm an alumnus. I'm an alumnus of Utah, so I'm going to have to root for the Utes. So,
man, there you go.
Yeah, there's the truth. I love the Cats, but I really love the Utes.
Thanks again,
Season
Ryan.
ticket holder.
Thanks very much for that. Becky Go Husky, good question. Says Bomber and Ute, honest feelings about Big 12 getting lowest percentage of the four conferences. How do you see that percent changing if the ACC goes away? I'll give you mine really quick, Becky. We said it at the beginning of the show, but not in this detail though. Neither of us are happy about the percentage, but neither of us are bothered by it either.
I'm bothered by it. We got screwed, man.
Well, look. I'm talking about taking for granted we were going to get less than the Big Ten and the SEC. I'm not threatened by the fact that it's 4 when the 3 is right above it. None of that bothers me because the ACC is going to disappear as an entity when Florida State moves. So that's my look at it. I just think it's just going to take time to resolve. Go ahead, Ute.
Yeah, so what the ACC is going to be making roughly 13 or 14 million. Big 12 is about 12 million approximately with the new CFP payout. So if the ACC gets rated and they go away, $14 million is going to reduce down to probably about 5-6 million, probably in half or more than half. And the rest of the money is probably going to go to the A3, the new A3, and the Big 12 is going to get a few million more. And so I'll probably lift to the high teens. So I think the Big 12 is going to really benefit with the ACC going away, as far as like an A4 conference. So that needs to happen, guys. For the Big 12's health, the ACC has to die a little bit here. It's just this is a zero-sum game. It is what it is.
Thanks, Becky, for the comment. We appreciate it. Moen, what do we got here, brother?
Holy.
Winner.
We've got Bill G gifting 5 memberships. Crab Cakes and Football, Kyle Sherman, Congo, Christopher Shannon, and Awesome Lawson Clips. If y'all are in chat, you need to thank Bill G for doing you that solid. You can go watch Wild Ute University after this is over. Bill G, thank you so much, dude. You are a
winner.
And right here is Wild Ute University. This is what everybody has access to. If you're new to the channel, when you're a member, you have access to these. Once they're in the member section, which is hidden right here until you're a member. It's right there, Georgia Tech to the big. These videos are prepared, and they are more professional than anything else you'll see on YouTube. You show me something different, and maybe I'll admit online that that's the case, but I haven't seen it yet. These right now are in public. They're open to everybody, but we're going to continue to put them out. And you kind of preference and tell everybody what's coming.
Yeah, it's the Big 12 expansion model. And the Big 12 expansion model is a different approach than the Big 10 expansion model. There are different criteria that this whole team here and reaching out to their Big 12 insiders, we developed a new model based on what we believe and what Brett Yormark said is important for Big 12 expansion. So we're weighting that model based on select ACC candidates to see where they stack up. And this model is actually even more honed in. It's more precise than the Big 10 model too, because it gives you a basically a power ranking within each criteria. So for example, I said earlier that KU basketball is worth 3 times the average Big 12 level. And the prior model just said, hey, KU basketball would be the number 1 stack ranked in the Big 12. But the new model will actually tell you, hey, it's 3 times more valuable than the average Big 12 team. So it's just a little bit more sophisticated. Super excited to roll it out and everything. And so, yeah, get ready for it over the next week or two.
Appreciate it, Bill. You're a stud for the gift memberships, and Ute is again, bar none. There's nobody that does it better. Let's get to a couple more super chats here. Ryan Thomas is feeling it tonight. Thank you very much, Ryan.
Ryan's dropping it.
Saying felines before Utes every day. Wild Ute. There you go.
Hey, you know what? If the Utes lost to anybody, losing to K-State,
it's gonna be BYU.
I'll take that. Yeah.
It's going to be BYU.
Right. No way.
It's going to be BYU right now. Mark it down. November 2nd, whenever that is. Book it, Dano. Book it. Let's see. Did you already do a sounder for this one, Moan? I'm sorry if I missed it.
Nope, I didn't play.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Got to have something. And then Ryan Willie coming back to Nathan, who asked for the truth, says, Nathan, for $2, I will tolerate Minnesota. I hate Michigan. I don't know if Greg is still in the audience. But Greg hasn't voiced up about either of these guys. That surprises me.
Winner.
Greg's probably talking to somebody from Clemson right now.
Well, he's probably he's probably Brett Yormark.
We're trying to.
All right. Let's so we are busting along here. I've got 20 minutes, and then you guys need to decide if you want to keep going. But
we'll keep going for a little bit.
Let's get some more comments.
We'll see how chat's doing by then.
Dude, people are hot tonight. People are hot.
I'm not seeing double yet, so we'll keep going.
All right. Jeff Woodworth, who's a member, says this is a bunch of bull. Dollar sign.
Well done, sir.
He's trying to
do a job.
Get
well
me.
done.
A bunch of bull.
He is baiting me, getting me to try to say something. Jeff Woodworth said, "Oh no, sorry."
So close. Good shot, Jeff.
Moth Prof says G5. Welcome to Surfdom.
Man.
Wow.
Moth's got some shots. I've seen a few
Oh,
from him
man.
tonight. He is on fire.
Surfdom.
So we will
He's
cover
right, though.
in the future. We will cover G5. We will cover Washington State, Oregon State, where they're currently at. We will cover what their future potentially could look like. I believe Greg on Flug Empire Peek Around the Corner this evening or late afternoon said that they're actually talking about the Mountain West and the AAC forming their own third layer of G5 stratification. So they want to pull away from the Sun Belt and the MAC and the MEAC and all. I don't know, but I don't see why they don't do. They should have done that a long time ago, in my opinion. They should have. Anyway, that's long overdue, in my opinion.
Wait,
Great.
once before we leave the comment, okay? So if
Go ahead.
G5 is the serfdom, then what is the Big 12 and the ACC? And what
your
is
vassal states? Your
the
vassal,
vassal
states.
states?
We
Okay,
bend the
so
knee,
then
right? Bend
What
the
is
knee
the
bone.
SEC and the Big 10 in this new medieval universe?
Well, it'd be obviously the landowner,
Royalty?
the lord,
They'd be the
the
Dukes.
lord.
They would be, they'd be
So
the
we're
Capulets and
vassals.
the Montagues.
They're the highest level vassals, but they are
Yeah.
still beholden to someone else, it seems.
Everybody's beholden to somebody. Becky Go Huskies,
Emperor
another
ESPN.
super chat, says, is it too early to hate the Wolverines in the Big Ten?
No,
Is it too early?
nope. Even at
Is
the Ohio State Hospital, when new babies are born, we put them in Michigan diapers.
What? Wait.
So
What?
they poo all over Michigan.
That's
Yeah.
child.
The
that's
inside of the
child
diaper
abuse.
has a big yellow M in it.
That is
No way.
so petty.
Oh my hell.
so petty.
Let's see.
Make
Tattown
fun
Pantown Hawk says 2028. So Big 12 won't last. 3 CFPs. Sankey, yeah, we aren't cutting our end. Thanks.
He's saying Big 12 won the last 3 CFPs.
Oh, okay.
And then Sankey would say, yeah, we're not cutting our end.
Right. Okay. That's
We've got
following
the
up with his,
viewership. You'd say, oh, the viewership's all coming our way.
his
We've got the
comments
brands.
this week. His comments this week were asinine about basketball. We didn't get a chance to cover it, but it was so banal. I just don't understand.
It's pressure on the NCAA.
Yeah, I don't. How can they possibly pressure them? They're not in a position of strength in basketball, and the NCAA's.
The threat to create. I mean, it was pretty just shotgun effect, but the threat is threatening their tournament, which is their lifeblood. That's all he's doing.
Okay. Rock Talk 94 says nobody paying in Boston College, SMU, and Wake Forest 41 million, guys. So did they end up getting their full payouts, all 3 of them? Immaculate?
SMU
I mean,
is not good.
for the
Coming out of the CFP.
I don't know.
Did all 3? Because there was that talk about especially SMU not getting their full.
SMU is not for 24-25. I don't think that's changed.
Okay.
What they get 26 going forward should be the normal
ACC
yeah.
payout. Okay.
the ACC.
All right.
Yeah, like that's just for 24 and 25 that they aren't
Okay.
going to.
All right. Conundrum says your Mark's a genius.
He's the real mafia
It might
member.
be. We
I
shall
would
see.
agree. Yeah, he is.
He and
He-
Petiti, telling you, these guys, they're going to cut out Sankey eventually.
I
Sankey
would-
just doesn't belong.
He's gonna wake up one day and he's been mugged, and they've just taken his keys and walked out the door with him. That's what's
Your
gonna
Mark's
happen.
going to mug somebody?
Yeah, Sankey in his sleep. Tony Lawson says, "What's the New York Yankees payroll? What's the Kansas City Royals payroll? Massive difference." That's where we're at. Is the Major League
That
Baseball
was a
model.
response to Utes asking what major sport allows it. It's
Baseball's
Major
the
League.
only. Yeah.
Major
Tony,
League Baseball.
I would agree with you, but the problem is recruiting. I can't access the number 1 pick as the Utah Utes because Ohio State has that because of the recruiting. So yes.
So
What's
who's
going
this
on?
guy who just broke onto the show?
Yeah. So we got an
After
invader.
2 months of-
Oh, it's Rocket.
After
Fucking
2
red.
months of being begged, I'm here.
Oh,
What's
whoa!
up?
Is that how it went? I think I received a
Some
DM
revisionist
saying, "Hey,
history
man."
going
I
on.
finally did it today. I just
Off the
this
ban
morning,
list.
I
All
avoided
right.
Nathan finally and decided to come in and just slip out of their DMs for a change and take on the heat.
I appreciate you being here. I know this isn't your preferred. You were hoping that other people would step up to represent Miami.
I'm going to get those other people who actually have a lot more direct contacts that
Okay.
will be helpful. But in the meantime, it's one of the rare times where I wasn't just sitting in the car at this time. So
Okay. So this is Rock and Rant, so everybody knows you can find him Rock and Rant on Twitter with that name. Tell us why Miami is the next call up to the Big Ten.
There you go.
I don't think that their next call up to the Big Ten, because I don't just drink Kool-Aid for the sake of it. I can have like a reasonable expectation of where my team is, which is why I can respect, for example, Florida State's position in the mix with, even though I despise them, but I also would never want to stop playing Florida State as a major rival, right? There's a difference in being a fanatic and being a fan, even if you don't like somebody. So I don't think that Florida, I'm speaking for myself. I obviously have a pretty good handle of things, down to being dorky enough to pay attention to the ACC bylaws and have a pretty good handle on things with Miami from a fan perspective and having some degree of contacts. But I don't think Miami is the next one to go, but I think that they are one of a few that is pretty likely to go. And I know that Immaculate said earlier that, you know, you're feeling more about Clemson possibly being on the list. I personally believe that what's happened with the playoffs today and all of the various things that have gone on in the last few weeks, not only do on my positive, as I'm sure many of you are, about Florida State, I believe Clemson and Miami are just closer to being in the P2 in some form. I don't know if it's going to be the same time as a Florida State, but I believe they're going to go there for a lot of reasons, and it'll all play out. I mean, for me, I heard about Big Ten as a possibility like 2 years ago, but there's been 37,000 different paths that have happened that have changed courses. And hey, is there a chance that it doesn't happen? Of course there's a chance. This whole thing is borderline insane that none of us would have thought about 10 years ago. But for every shot that people like to take, there's a lot of things out there that help Miami get into the case. And whether it's what, you know, Wild's youth report on there, which I watched tepidly because I was afraid of where it might lead. You know, I think a lot of people get too caught up on specifically the market or the rating, as opposed to it's the market, it's the rating, it's the rivalries, it's the new rivalries and matchups that draw eyeballs, regardless of whether a team was or wasn't drawing before. It's academics, but not to the same degree. It's recency bias in terms of, are they winning, like a Clemson, and the whole question of what happens after Dabo or what have you. But it also is, who's recruiting really good right now? Who is investing resources before they have, like, there's 10 things that people are looking at, I think, when it all comes to the equation. Some of them are absolutely more important, right? But I think that the Miami brand has more of a lasting thing, and the hate is probably the proof of that, right? We can sit here and say Miami has sucked, and Miami fans have tortured that school for the last 20 years because they have basically not done a good job. And 4 years ago, I'd be super scared about where things would go for Miami. And 20 years ago, I would never have had one concern, right? Like, it just changes that way. But now we at least have an administration that is investing. We have people who are competent. I personally believe and have heard that Dan Radakovich was brought over for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only. One was to get the football program resourced, including a new facility, as good as possible, and to navigate the conference changes that were coming, right? Not just a retirement gig to a school that he went to. So I think there's a number of factors that go in there. I, of course, am not delusional. Notre Dame, Florida State are probably 1, 2 on everyone's list. I get that. But I think that there's a very strong possibility leaning towards, if I had money, I would bet on it, that Miami and Clemson and a couple of others will wind up in the P2 in some form, and not in 2036. You know, I don't think 2025 or 2024 for Miami or Clemson. I think Florida State for sure, but the others I think are pretty certain. And I'm going to done doing my nervous introduction babble. That just took way too long, but
No,
Good
that
to
was
have you on.
sort of setting it. And I'm happy to go into anything you want or questions you have from any sort of perspective.
Now that you're here,
I've got a question for.
hang on, let me get this super chat in really quick. Sergeant Pickles for $1.99 says, rock and rant. Cheers to my Co-91 champion. He's giving you a fist bump. Obviously, he's a University of Washington Husky.
I was at that game. I saw Dennis Erickson super lit afterwards, and I don't know that Washington did or didn't have the title that year. I don't care. I was happy in New Orleans.
Wait, where did you see Erickson lit?
Oh,
Was
right
that like
after
at a
the
frat
game.
party or something?
No, right after the game, that man was super drunk, which which was not actually rare. But
that's not funny. He got drunk driving. He had issues with
I didn't know
alcohol.
that.
Yeah. but he was definitely happy that day. But I'm happy to share it with. Much better to share it with somebody than to have the BCS computers put the team you beat into the championship ahead of you. Like, I'll take the split in that
So
old school
stupid.
way than the 2020 zone or Moen's favorite referee in 2022.
Yeah, it was pass interference.
Sure, it was 10 minutes after with the Ohio State guys behind me
Well,
going,
just because he couldn't
"Oh
get his
yeah,
flag out,
that
that's not our
was what just
problem.
happened after the fireworks already went off."
Well,
Actually, I think he just threw the flag right now.
Yeah. Well, your team still hasn't recovered from it, so we've won 2
Absolutely,
titles.
there's a lot you can't do when your administration is not supporting. Like, the U is literally from the athletic department, is become the logo of the entire university, including the health, the medical network that has driven a lot of revenue. And for years it was neglected and had some super bad hires. Finally realized, hey, maybe the logo that we've now plastered everywhere, maybe we should actually invest in it again. And that's what's happening. And I think that will help be a reason for the future why a league would want to take Miami and the talent that's coming in from the recruiting classes. It's not going to mitigate stupid decisions like not taking a knee, but the pros and cons versus getting a top 3 or top 4 class, top 10 class, what is trending as a top 1 class. Maybe you lose one because Mario doesn't do the right thing, but you're probably going to win several more than you have in the past because talent is talent at the end of the day.
I know Immaculate's got a raft of questions for you, and he'll need some time.
I've got one too here.
Okay. Immaculate's been waiting for like months, I think.
I don't have my own show on YouTube.
No,
I don't have
that's all we do here.
Rock and rant. Yep.
So that super chat, sorry, not super chat. I got another gifted membership. This is fantastic. You guys are awesome. Moen, what do you want to tell everybody about these gifts?
Yes, Mossy Talks has gifted a membership to Almighty Finn. If you're in the chat, Almighty Finn, make sure you thank Mossy Talks. And Mossy Talks, thank you for gifting a membership to our community. That makes you a
winner.
Yeah, always call those out.
You need
when
a
they
David
pop up.
Lee Roth soundboard too. That's what you should be getting, Moen. Or the Olivia
I can
Newton-John
only
Let's Get
fit-
Physical one.
I only fit 3 on there, so these are
We're
the
get-
3.
We're gonna give him some money to invest in like a hamster wheel so he can do more. That'll come.
I want to
someday.
get like a cymbal here and some sound effect machines.
Just
so
like the
I
David
just
Lee
wanna-
Roth scream thing would be epic, I think.
You know what I want behind him is those 2, what are they called, Tesla coils behind him doing the arcing electricity right behind his head. That's what I want to see.
As long as it doesn't shock him live on show, that would be horrible.
Yeah.
All
He
right,
wants to see me
Immaculate,
electrocuted.
go ahead.
Well, first off, good to see you, man. Glad to see you came on and joined us. We've had a lot of talks in the past, so when you said you were ready to come on, I was like, oh shit, about time. But I would say my valuing of Miami isn't. I know I sound negative all the time when I talk about their home value and I talk about the home stadium. To me, they're inverted. To me, the greatest value Miami would bring to, say, the Big Ten or another is their home, is the away games. And I don't know if there's anyone else that I could say more of that. And it's part of the brand and the stigma and just everything that you think of in Miami. You kind of want to see him come to your stadium. You want,
for sure.
want the villain to come to your home, to your games. I'd love to see Miami come up to Michigan and see that, or Ohio State. I'd love to see him in Kinnick. So to me, when I talk about the home stuff, I don't mean that as like entirely, because I think Miami, like you're saying, the brand. I think if Notre Dame ever decided to come to the Big Ten, I think their first thing that they would say they want to come with them is Miami. No one else.
I mean, I don't know if that's the case with Notre Dame or not. Notre Dame is also a school like Florida that canceled the rivalry as an annual basis thing with Miami because it was too heated. Like Florida, it's canceled what was the annual series they had with Miami because we got too many conference games now. But we at least re-engaged with both of those, and since Notre Dame came back in, and I tried to do this after seeing Wild Utes, have a left brain, right brain thing, a little bit of balance of both, but it's hard to do. I have this theory that kind of goes into what you're saying, Immaculate, and maybe it's a rainy day project for me to try to dig down, or for you is on the Miami front on the road is It's hard when North Carolina shows their entire season sold out, right? Because the tickets are sold and there's no more capacity, and they're not necessarily publishing butts and seats. But I'm just using that as an example. Fill in any ACC school or on the road game is my hypothesis that I would love to be able to prove that if there was a way with that more people show up when Miami's on the road, right? Because if you hate them, you hate them.
I think so.
You love them, you love them. I believe that's the case. So I think you're right about that. I think there's the other thing that there's a lot of Miami fans will get mad because sometimes the truth hurts, but Miami fans torture our school more than you guys would think. If you ever go onto our own boards, you'll see that the harshest critics of Miami are Miami fans because it emanates from a couple of different things. It's a pro town, so you have to get attention. And there's a different history too. Like in the 80s, other than the Dolphins, there were no pro teams in Miami. And I'm not born from Miami. I went to school from the Northeast and went down there.
The 90s.
Right?
Yep.
There was
right.
in the 80s, it was the Miami Dolphins, and that's it.
Yep.
So, and they were of the town, right? If you want to go back in history, there's parts I don't have to regurgitate some of that why and how that connection existed. You can just go look at any of the documentaries on ESPN. You'll get a handle on that.
Yeah, the U.
So it's
the absolute best 30 for 30.
It's always been about, not just it's a private school. I don't know what undergrad is right now, but it's whatever, 11, 12,000, of which it used to be like half in-state, half out of state. But if the best thing I can tell anyone trying to figure out like what could happen with Miami now that they're resourcing and if Mario gets it all together is if you look at the end of 2017 as an example, when that was the year, like Mark Richt's next to last year. And I'm not trying to live in the past. I'm just trying to give an example of what happens when Miami is winning. Miami's winning in a pro town, Marlins even to a degree, but sports in a pro town like Miami with a lot of people move from somewhere else, it has to become an event in addition to the fan base. When Miami's doing not like national championship, but just you start to get more butts and seats. There's a lot of empty seats that have already been sold for a lot of Miami games because there's something better to do than watch us lose to Middle Tennessee State, right, as an example. But when there's a competitive team, like the first year that Mario came back, like season ticket base went back up to 55,000. The stadium holds 64,000, give or take. That's the number. Then last year was really disappointing. But when things are going well, you start to get 64,000 people in the stadium. If you look at the last 4 or 5 games of 2017, when Miami had the run, which turned out to be a little bit of a false positive. Those last 3 or 4 games against Virginia Tech, Pitt, and Notre Dame were all top 3 ratings games on the networks at that time. So on the road, I think Miami's going to draw really well for the Big Ten. SEC doesn't really need more people to draw, right? They're pretty much going in those stadiums all the time.
Yeah.
But it's going to make the secondary market be better for those same schools, right? For those who care about selling their tickets. And if Miami starts to do better, and I feel pretty positive about this upcoming season. I don't think it's as much hype, but we'll see. We're all in a show me zone. Those seats will happen. Those butts and seats will happen. The attendance issues will be there. Miami's extremely unlikely to ever get an on-campus stadium in the way that people think of it. The University of Miami is in Coral Gables, which, if you don't know where that is, it's essentially the Beverly Hills of South Florida, right? There's other places like that. It is a super, it's a 265-acre campus that took 15 years to even get a basketball arena on. And if you ever see a Miami game, you'll see this empty ring at the top where there's no seats if you ever take the right shot. And that's because the city of Coral Gables wouldn't let Miami fill it to the capacity, even with the seats to sell, even if they didn't add more parking. So that is unlikely to ever happen. Is there a possibility that something happens in closer proximity like the Orange Bowl? Sure. I mean, anything's possible. I think that there's a big overvalue of how bad the stadium is. Because if you go watch the Notre Dame game, get a clip, listen to Kirk Herbstreit. So it's an epic fan atmosphere in that game. Miami has to figure out how to do that regularly. Part of it is actually winning and not investing in your program. If the worst thing to want to argue about Miami's fans is that they didn't all go there, as if everyone in Nebraska went to Nebraska, or that they play in a pro stadium that hosts the college football national title game and the Super Bowl, that's not going to be the decision factor. UCLA is Rose Bowl's further away from UCLA than Hard Rock is from Miami. I live in Los Angeles, so
Hard Rock.
I know.
Can I cut
And
you
you
off
see,
right there?
yeah,
You okay? Okay. I just long answers sometimes people lose
sometimes.
track of what we're talking about.
I know, I'm babbling.
No, you're doing fine.
You're good.
You're new. You'll come back again and you'll be that much better. I'm going to do another gifted membership. Moen, what's this all about?
Ryan Willie has gifted a membership to the community, and that gifted membership went to 513 Bearcat. Make sure you thank Ryan in the chat. Ryan, that makes
Bearcat?
you a
Winner.
thank you, Ryan.
I always try to pay it forward, guys. You get one, you should pay one on. It's the way we do it here. I actually have to go. I've got a hard date with my wife tonight, so you guys are gonna
Good
have to
man.
go on without me. I know that's impossible, but I'll leave it to you, and you're leaving it in good hands. But if you're new to the channel, we're 2 hours in, over 100 people watching. This has been awesome. Make sure you subscribe, follow us all on Twitter, and yeah, consider becoming a member. Rock and Rant, I appreciate you being here. I'm sorry I got to go, but
No
we'll do
worries.
this again. And these guys have more questions for you anyway. They don't need me.
All right. Shoot, and I will try to be shorter.
You're in trouble now that he's leaving, though. I'm telling you.
You're fine. Just to remind everybody, Sunday night, let me put up that banner with all the schedules on it. This is our schedule for our weekly shows. Everybody, we're on almost every night now. We're looking to fill Thursday, and Saturday is always there too. So consider watching us every week. We've got a lot of content. We do the background work for you, so you don't have to sit there and read all the articles. Frankly, it's everything Immaculate does. Yeah, that's what we're here for. And we hope you have fun. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. I got to sign off, but you guys have a great night without me, and we will see you later. Okay.
Sounds good. Take care,
All right.
Bomber.
See you
See you,
later.
Bomber.
Bomber.
You bet. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Georgia Tech.
Georgia
Tech.
Dad's left.
Poor
Okay.
Immaculate.
Is in here.
Rock and Rant. All right.
Yeah.
Sir.
Say you are pitching Miami right here, and then this is we are the Big Ten decision makers here, okay? So tell us one reason why you think Miami belongs in the Big Ten. Also, after that, tell us the biggest weakness that Miami brings to the table that we should consider. So what's the number one most important reason first?
Just the brand equity and power that it brings to the Big Ten, while also making it easier for schools other than Ohio State to recruit South Florida, right? Like there's as much as Miami has over the last 20 years by not having a consistently winning program, like we're essentially a 7-5 program every freaking year on average. I think it's literally the average of the last year, not just last season. I think I sent it to Immaculate in one of our random chats. Which would make you think that the brand is dying in some way, right? Or people like to say that as an example, and there's some drawdown in your TV ratings because you're on a smaller network or whatever it might be, right? And you've done all that analysis, and to whatever degree you want to take with a grain of salt with Tony Altimore does, whoever. Like, I'm not going to do something that everyone else has already done. Though I actually live in that world and come from an IP rights and have negotiated these deals, but that doesn't matter. But you're going to be able to have a brand that in today's recruits' eyes, I think it was an on3 article and pre this season in 2023. If it wasn't on3, it was 24/7. And they interviewed a couple thousand, 1,600 or so maybe recruits on brand awareness for the schools that were recruiting them. And despite the fact where Miami has been, Miami was, I think, in the top 10 brands there. And none of those kids have ever existed seeing Miami in a national title game, or even probably with a couple of exceptions, a bigger bowl game, right? So there is some halo effect to that brand that happens, but it definitely allows you as a school, and Ohio State has done great here in terms of recruiting South Florida kids. It's going to help a lot more of them, right? And not that Florida kids aren't going to Big Ten schools, they are, but it will give those parents a chance to have a opportunity of getting a couple games where they don't have to travel. And if they're considering schools even further in the SEC than Florida might be, or Georgia, those are a commute is a commute, a drive is a drive, a flight is a flight. So there's that value.
So recruiting in the brand equity. So what's the weakness though? Like, what's the one thing that we should be looking out for and concerned about?
I mean, the weakness
This Big
is
Ten.
just the seasonality. You know, the if you think that the look and feel of the attendance as it is currently today is going to be your predictor of the future, then maybe you are worried about that. But I would have said 4 years ago, the administration, and from the top of the administration down to the athletic department, the unity and that buy-in across the organization, that would have been the number one. Now, I don't think that's really the case. And I do think, you know, it's a corollary to those. There's the culture, I think, is a big part. Like, I think Miami feels like some degree of a Big Ten school more than SEC, though I wouldn't complain being in both. There's pros and cons for both. But I think the academic side of Miami that has that ACC aspect to it would appreciate being in the Big Ten more. I personally wanted to be in the Big Ten because every once in a while I get to see USC and UCLA play them without having to travel or go up and see Sergeant Pickles and stuff in Washington. It'd be just easier for me. But either way, I wouldn't care. That would be that's the main drawback of it.
Can I ask you a quick question on that? What you just said? Would
Sure.
Miami help fill USC's stadium? Since you're there locally to talk about that, I think that that's kind of an interesting combination of two brands that on their own, USC has some trouble at home filling. But if Miami was coming, say, and, you know, Rock's in town and he comes there and helps sell the game as well, does that get a lot of local interest?
Oh, I think the hype on Miami versus you know, if you go back to the Heat, Lakers, all that kind of stuff. But I think the hype would be there. If both matchups are everything, but if both teams suck, it doesn't really matter, right? Like,
right.
If they're both coming off of a 4-8 season, the first time would probably be novelty, and it would happen. But if the second time that, you know, didn't happen, you know, UFC has a bigger issue, right? That stadium, even with the reduction, is really big. You know, it's not, and there's 13 other options that day, but I think it certainly has that value. You know, Miami coming to the Big Ten also reestablishes a bunch of rivalries that existed, and maybe not massive rivalries, but games that have been played in the past, right? Whether
Nebraska?
Like Nebraska is a prime example, you know, which at least was played in, I don't know, 2015, 16. There was a home series on that one, but that was the first time since the Rose Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. But that's one. I mean, Miami, I think, I know played Michigan while I was in college, you know, but that's probably the last time that happened. And there's a strange, I don't know if it's a two-way rivalry. Miami fans, of course, always think of Ohio State because of that game. I don't know how, I don't personally consider it to be a rivalry because the recruiting aspect, they're always up head to head, though they haven't really played on the field. But I would love to go see Miami play a game at the Horseshoe. So there's a bunch of rivals beyond hey, it would be great to play Penn State again. It'd be definitely great to play Notre Dame if there's a conference division alignment all the time. That's you know, the one thing we can all agree on is dunking on Notre Dame is an awesome thing to do for anybody, even though we all would want them in our conference for the revenue and the profile to do, but mainly so that we could beat them all, right? Like, everyone wants to beat Notre Dame, and good for them that they built that equity and that brand power over the years. But, you know, I just spot, you know, for me personally, to give you an example, and there'll be Miami fans that think differently, I despise Florida and Notre Dame not way more, but more than I despise Florida State. Like, Florida State is a begrudging respect rivalry for a lot of Miami fans. Others would curse me for saying that.
Gotcha. So, guys, any other questions for Rock and Rat?
Yeah, I have one. You mentioned, did you see that Ohio State and Miami played within the last 10 years? Miami was at the Horseshoe.
I totally don't remember that game happening.
Oh, okay. Well,
no, seriously,
yeah,
I'm not
they played at home
it.
and home.
Oh, he's about to tell you all about it. Just one second.
They played at
He's
home and
about to
home.
tell you all about it.
Smacked twice. I actually don't remember that moment, to be honest with you. But I'm not purposely avoiding it. I can pretty much guess that we lost both games. So, but I honestly don't remember that. Yeah.
Ohio State.
And you want to join the Big Ten? Are you sure?
No, I would love to have Miami in the Big Ten. I think it's great. We broke them 20
I'm still
years
recovering
ago.
from 2000. Yeah. I'm still recovering from 2002, you know?
Yeah. It's not like you guys didn't have tremendous success or anything. I mean, you won one the year before, so.
Yeah, like our version is the we think we would have won in 2000 if the BCS didn't put Florida State ahead of us from a points, even though we beat them early in the year. 2001 was a nice exhibition against Nebraska. And 2002, of course, from our perspective, that penalty flag just got called. From your guys, it was a clear, pass interference. So we all have very different perspectives on that. But yeah, it was a good run. It's just been way too freaking long.
Well, if you guys ever do join the Big Ten and make it to Columbus, let me know. I will take you to the Hall of Fame Cafe, and we will have a beer right underneath the picture of that, and you can tell me how it's not passing.
I will definitely take you up on that for sure.
Sounds
Hey,
awesome.
Rocket
All right,
Red,
Rocket
thanks
Red.
for jumping on.
Awesome. Thanks
guys. Have a great weekend.
Come back again.
Yep.
Take care, man.
We'll do.
See ya. Great.
There's
Great
really
guest.
a picture of that at the bar?
Oh, yeah. Hall of Fame Cafe has that one up, just in case anybody tries to dispute it.
Nice.
Let's get to some questions, guys.
Let's do it.
Because we've got we're way backed up on that, and I apologize to chat, but we've been wanting a Miami person to come on here for literally ever, and we finally got somebody to represent Miami and come on. So we were excited.
Very
we wanted
good
to get,
representation.
yes, very good representation. Wanted to get his opinions on things. I'm gonna try and get through here, guys. We've got over 1,100 comments tonight. You guys are killing it. I'm going to try and get to as many as we can. Obviously, we favor member comments, but all super chats get answered. Let's go. Larry the GM, by 2026, WSU and OSU have a G5 won't have a G5 level conference.
Won't they be by 26? It just
So what's
depends.
going to happen with those two?
If they don't get invited to the Big 12 or ACC, then yes.
I think they get in the ACC still, guys. I think that's the
I
ticket.
do too. I think they're the best backfills available for the ACC.
And
I think
they actually alleviate the travel concerns with Cal and Stanford. I mean, that's going to be some wicked bad travel, right? For Cal and Stanford, and adding those two as a pod is really helpful.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that one plays out. I think that they're in a spot where they want to be for the next couple of years. They're still getting their protected payout for 24-25. And if either one of them gets into the playoff in 24 and 25, there's still the participation payout that they'll only have to divide two ways. So it's a big cliff for them in 26 because 24-25 might actually feel pretty good for them. But after that, they're going to have to find something. They're going to have to start looking right now and figuring out what they're going to do for 26 because it is an absolute cliff.
Mm-hmm. Dan Miter, we know Utah is prepared for Big 12 football. How do you think they'll fare in Big 12 basketball?
Okay, so here's the truth of the matter. Okay, so I don't speak for the whole Ute fan base. I'm sure there's a lot of diehard Ute basketball supporters there. Well, there's some of them at least. But my thoughts are this: that I could give a crap less about basketball. I'm sorry, other Big 12 fan folks and stuff. Basketball, really, for a lot of Ute fans, like it's almost like fold the program and reinvest every dime into football. Like seriously, there's a lot of Ute fans that just don't care about basketball. They're not going to care about basketball into the Big 12. That's not going to be a popular thing, especially going into such a basketball-heavy conference. But I don't think they're going to fare really well at all. I think they're going to be an average, middling team, maybe below average, make the tournament sometimes and everything. It's really just a lack of engagement and passion. The Huntsman Center, the basketball experience at Utah isn't great. I just don't like going to games there and stuff, whereas the football experience is phenomenal. A lot of Ute fans just want to go all in football and basically just nuke basketball. Seriously, there's some real talk there. Like basketball, I just don't see Utah being in basketball power in the Big 12 ever because it's just not a focus. It's not a priority and stuff. I mean, Utah is going to focus on football and really juicing this football program in the future. So that's the response.
All right. Go Black 45, long shot theory. Since AAU added Notre Dame, the first fully religious school, Boston College applies and gets into the Big Ten by 2033. They are the 31st ranked university and a new market for them.
Unfortunately, that market does not care about Boston College whatsoever.
And Boston College doesn't care about athletics.
Yeah, probably not. And even to talk about their deal with Notre Dame, when Notre Dame joined the ACC, they were actually asked to play 6 games against the ACC, and they were offered in return for taking 6 instead of 5, preserved rivalry games against Pitt and BC. Do you know what Notre Dame's answer was to that?
No.
No thanks. We'll stay with 5. So, I mean, they don't care that much about Boston College to go. We want them to come with. Like, it's just, I maybe they do. I would probably say not.
I tend to agree. They just don't invest in athletics.
BC doesn't. Yeah. It's hard to see.
Conundrum. Dennis Dodd says Knowles aren't getting full share. Dennis Dodd is an idiot.
My trigger word.
Man, there you go.
Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah, that guy has deleted so much garbage that he posted and had to go back on, and he never says anything about it. That, what he says about the Knowles, who cares?
Yeah, if Florida State's available to the Big Ten, they're getting a full share, guys.
They're getting a full share. Florida State's getting a full
they've
share.
carried so much of what's going on with the ACC, and so many other schools who might leave after them are going to benefit so much from that. None of it would happen without what FSU is doing right now. They'll get a full share.
Where's Dennis Dodd getting his information from if he's saying that FSU is not getting
If I was to say, we might get in trouble.
Is he getting his information on Twitter? Is that what it is?
He finds other reporters, he reports what they report, and then he adds bullshit at the end of it.
Yeah, he adds. It's not good.
He reports a fact and then he speculates, and then he doesn't acknowledge that he's speculating it.
Yeah,
and you just assume it's a fact. So
he lost his sources. He lost all of his sources to Dellinger, as far as I'm concerned. He used to be that guy. He's not anymore.
Dan Miter, Immaculate. Seems to me that the FSU thing is almost fast-tracked lately. I think this is going to be a long spring and summer in the ACC.
The spotlight is now on it. The CFP is closing in terms of the spotlight on that, and it is going to turn and point at the ACC because everyone else is going to want that to happen sooner rather than later. If something's going to happen, have it happen sooner, or know that nothing's going to happen. So I think this year, we're going to know this year for sure.
Greg Flugar, the godfather of realignment. Clemson's rabid fan base is not going away. Thank you, Greg.
Clemson is a candidate. Clemson is not going to the Big 12. I know that's disappointing for a lot of Big 12 folks to think about. It's not going to happen. They're going to get into the Big 10 of the SEC. And that's the great debate, is which one do they belong in? There's a lot of support. There's a lot of, argument that they're going to make the SEC because they're a cultural fit, which no one's going to deny that. They're fit right there. But I just don't think they bring a ton of value to the SEC. I think they bring much more value to the Big Ten. And if the Big Ten's going to add Oregon and their crappy research, I think that you can bring in Clemson too, because Clemson actually has a better academic profile than Oregon. So don't say it's academics if you don't want to add Clemson in the Big Ten.
I think it's defensive in nature. Real quick on that.
Yeah.
If I thought Florida State would get taken by the SEC in a defensive posture, but that might be out of reach now because of events. But if that's going to happen and there's nothing you can do about it, well, you can make sure the Big Ten isn't straddling Atlanta with Florida State and Clemson. I mean, I would be worried about that if I was the SEC. I would be more worried about FSU and Clemson in the Big Ten than FSU and Miami. That's nothing to do with which one Big Ten presidents might want more. But in terms of, if we're just talking defensive posture, protecting the Southeast, FSU Clemson is one hell of a combo in terms of what the SEC prioritizes and favors football. And that is a pretty deep dive into the Southeast for the Big Ten if they get Florida State and Clemson. So I think what we're seeing is the improved value now for Clemson in terms of money they bring to the conference. I think that just got ratcheted up big time by the way this was figured out and played out. So to me, that's for the SEC. That's to make the SEC say, okay, fine, they're worth it.
All right. Your mark looking pretty good now. This is from Bill G. Your mark looking pretty good now, but his true impact won't be known for 5 to 6 years. assuming he stays that long.
Ooh, let's not make that assumption. He's staying that long here.
It's hard to find a job that pays more than conference commissioners. It's honestly a very good paying job. What's his name? Warren, when he left for Chicago to be the president of the NFL team there, he took a massive pay cut. Massive pay cut. So for someone else to pull your mark from there, it'd have to be for a lot of money. So once you get a commissioner, if they're good, they tend to sit in those spots for a long time.
Big 12 fans would make an NIL deal for Brett Yormark. There's no way he's leaving.
Oh, the presidents aren't going to let him go. They're going to pay him.
Oh, the fans would too. I'm serious. The fans would seriously make an NIL deal. Give it to that guy. He's staying in the Big 12.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere for a long time.
Miami has not won an ACC championship in the 20 years they have been in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Probably true. I think the last one, Big East, was when they played Ohio State.
I don't think anyone like in the Big Ten, like if that's what we're talking about here, I don't think they need them to come in and win anything. I think you just want them to come into your stadium in their orange and green uniforms and all of that brand talks about it, and you just kind of want to see the spectacle of them coming. Now, how long that lasts for, I don't know. New car smell wears off after a while, but I think the value is actually having them in your away games, your away game schedule for TV stuff. So you don't really need Miami to win. You just need them to be good.
Yeah, they need to bring eyeballs and intrigue and everything, and they are a brand. When they're on the road, people are going to want to go see them. Absolutely.
Notre Dame will become the new Nebraska in the Big Ten. Can't wait.
I mean, I know he's taking a bit of a shot, but at the same time,
Nebraska sells out.
So will Notre Dame, no matter how well they do. But no, I don't know. We'll see. That's an individual thing. I mean, Nebraska's going through some serious problems right now, and so. Will Notre Dame have those same kind of problems? Probably not. It's an entirely different situation, but it would be a bigger challenge for them, that's for sure.
I think this is more close to being true than false in the Big Ten. I think the Notre Dame would become more Nebraska-like. I'm not saying they wouldn't make bowl games. I mean, although bowl games will be irrelevant, so who cares, in the future here. But there'd be more borderline 6-6 than 12-0.
I think they'd be like an 8-14.
Yeah, like 7-5, 8-4.
They try to aim to be like a double-digit win right now team, but I think with the lineup that the Big Ten has, and if like FSU comes in, or God help us, a Clemson too, I think Notre Dame in that lineup, yeah, I think you can't think of yourself as like a perennial double-digit team anymore. And maybe you could, and that means someone else is falling off. But, I mean, they are still located in Indiana.
There you go. Instead, get the Roger Daltrey scream from Won't Get Fooled Again. Well, you know what? At some point when we have the stream funds, I am going to make Nate buy me a new soundboard. We'll get 12 to 15 custom sounds.
Oof, imagine that.
I'll play them ad nauseum, just like that jerk off from the Monty Show.
That sounds like
we'll get an airplane soundbite here, and we'll get the Jive Talk soundbite. And
we are on fire tonight.
Ad nauseum. John Bardake, will FSU and UM thrive in the Big Ten? UCF has a lot to prove in the Big 12. I think FSU will. University of Miami still has work to do.
That's a pretty good home advantage, though, in terms of recruiting grounds. That's always going to be something where I think if Miami was in the Big Ten versus the ACC, now, people call it the Big Two, the P2, whatever they want to call it. There is going to be, going forward especially, a perceived difference between being on a Miami in the ACC versus a Miami in the Big Ten. I think I would worry about Miami in the Big Ten. I'll be honest. I think that they could either maybe stay mid or they could become a real power. Especially when you take that team on the road and traveling and they start pulling more from around the country as well. Oof, that could be dangerous. That's that's the type of a brand that kids these days coming up, I think, look at. You talked about brand awareness and what kids see. I think that's one that sells really well to the young kids with everything they do there to try to be edgy and flashy.
Would Miami and Florida State be better Big Ten schools as far as success than Notre Dame?
I think it's
No.
entirely possible.
No, I think Notre Dame, Florida State would be more successful than Miami, Florida State.
History would
I
say
think
that,
Florida State, yeah.
but
Florida State's going to be a powerhouse in the Big Ten.
They'll compete right away.
They're going to kick around some Big Ten teams, and there's going to have to be some more evolution going on in the Big Ten. That's already happening with the West Coast teams coming in. If you add Florida State and Miami and all of that Florida talent to it and the Southeast talent, it's going to become some type of a mixture of all these parts. You got your Midwest beef mixed with West Coast, speed athletes versus your Southeast, heavy defense players and also speed. So it becomes a much more complete picture, I think, if you start to add in Florida State and Miami.
And this next question here, UCF, they have got a lot of proof in the Big 12, but this is a sleeping giant, guys. As far as like brand upside, Brett Yormark talks about brand upside. UCF is the definition of brand upside. It's a program that's had success in a short amount of time. It's in a very healthy recruiting territory in Orlando and in the state of Florida. And I think that UCF, you're looking at a future Big 12 powerhouse in football. No doubt about it. I think that if you look at recruiting trends, they had one of the best recruiting classes this last cycle. They got good in the transfer portal. I think they're a coach away from really being a pretty strong contender in the future for CFB spots. So UCF is the team that I've got my eye on as a Ute fan. Look out for in the future.
They just need to get the funding to add on the next wing of their stadium.
That needs to expand out. There's like less than 40,000 seats.
That needs to be Big 12's premier location in Florida. Like they need to do whatever they can to help them get funding, even if Endeavor has to come in there and make some deals to turn that into a big time Big 12 program. And you're going to need a better stadium than that for that.
Yeah.
All right. Dodd takes 2 knees for Sankey. I think that's an insult to Greg Sankey.
I think he's still taking 2 knees for Sankey, but Sankey's not there anymore.
Yeah. I think you owe Greg Sankey an apology for that. Thanks, conundrum.
Oh, man. What was Michael Corleone's like a little brother and stuff that had betrayed him, and then they had to
it was his older brother, Fredo.
His older brother, Fredo. Yeah. So like that's Dodd, I guess, with Sankey.
My big brother, Mike, and I got passed over. It's a Dennis Hattie. It's a country of 340 million, and some brag when their team's games average TV audiences of 4 million.
Yeah.
But talk about television.
There's a lot of options for entertainment in this country.
Definitely. Rock and Ramp. Miami had top 5 recruiting class this year without Big Ten. So adding Big Ten, if Miami wins, can compete for sure. Well, we know you can compete in dollars. You bought a player that Ohio State wanted, and Ohio State had committed. So, John, and guys, we're going to do about 10 more minutes here, and then we're going to wrap it up. Want to thank everybody for watching. We're now up to like 1,300 in comments. I'm going to try and get through as many as we can.
Fire.
But please forgive me if I skipped over your comment. It's just trying to get through all of them that we can. John Bardake. I worked at UCF from 2000 to 2012. Lived 2/3 a mile from the stadium. Huh.
Love to see what his thoughts are on that and the potential of it. I haven't really looked too much into the module ability, whatever the right word for that is, for them to add on to that stadium. I don't know the surrounding area. I kind of was of the opinion that they had some room to maneuver in that regard. But kind of curious to see what John has to say in that if we have time to see him respond.
mean, John's seen a lot of success here. I mean, UCF has jumped multiple conferences. I mean, they were at one time Division II back in like the early '90s, right? And then jumping up to D1 and just succeeding everywhere. And I don't see it any different in the Big 12. I mean, you guys are a sleeping giant. Orlando's a great football city. I mean, there's a lot to like about UCF. Like Immaculate said, that stadium needs to be expanded, though, for sure. I mean, that stadium does have juice, though. It's called the Bounce House for a reason.
Oh yeah, I
fans are
mean,
nuts.
they just need more there. Like, imagine if that
Need
thing
more.
gets expanded. I mean, good.
Yeah,
That's not gonna be a
put
place you're gonna
50,000
wanna go.
seats. Yeah, put 50,000 seats in that bad boy and everything.
And it's Orlando. They don't have another team there. That town will support that university heavily. That's
Yes.
maybe their greatest thing. You know, USF in Tampa, they got the Buccaneers. Florida or Miami down south, they got the Dolphins. Even up north where Gainesville is, they got Jacksonville. So UCF could be a very big time sleeper there. They have to invest.
Yeah, where will UCF be in a decade? Like in a decade in the Big 12, I could see them be one of the premier
Huge.
teams in the Big
Like-
12.
Like
For
you
sure.
could look at this and go, how does a team with the name UCF, how are they such a big deal? Like that could be where we are in a decade of looking at a team, a directional team, Central Florida, and it's just a monster power.
Yep.
Like, you might rue the day you invited, basically. Like they could be big. And that's why I like USF maybe too for the Big 12, just to have that duo, that pair there. And there's bad blood. Don't get me wrong. There's bad blood with UCF and USF and from past being blocked to join conferences and whatnot. So, yeah, I think there's a lot there.
Hidden Hawaiian, one of my favorite usernames. UCF Sleeping Giant. They could be scary if things align right. I think you talked about that,
Oh, yeah.
And everyone knows it too. It's like that's not like a hot take, you know. Like everyone kind of just sees it coming. It's gonna happen, guys.
I mean, they were taking on Powers as a Cinderella, and now they've got Big 12 money, which we're slamming it, in ways here today, but for where they came from and to where they are now with that money, to them they're going, I don't know what these guys are complaining about. This is freaking amazing. We're going to do so much with all this money. Like that's the thing is like if you have like a UCF who can really kind of help carry your conference and surprise some folks, the money may not be as big of a deal because there'll be other ways to get money when you have an enrollment that large in a city the size of Orlando that may just 100% follow you and support you, besides, alumni and whatever the other schools. There's a lot of potential there. I really like UCF for the Big 12.
Take FSU and Clemson, surround Atlanta. The General Sherman plan will work for the Big Ten. Now listen, Tony, if you make Civil War references, even if it's in a joking manner, certain snowflakes will call you an elitist. So don't be doing that. Can't have that, you elitist. You Big Ten elitist.
Oh man, we're gonna hear about that one.
Big Ten elitist.
Yeah. We'll fill you in later. You.
Yeah.
Mike Smith, I know it was you, Fredo.
I know it's you, Fredo.
Old man Roth doesn't come to places like this, but that Johnny Ola knows him like the back of his hand. John Bartke, UCF, I think, can add an additional tiers to the stadium. So
it's a pretty basic build. I don't think it would be too hard. I don't know space-wise around the stadium how much room they have to work, but I don't think it's a particularly cramped like campus or area. So I think that they could probably work with it.
UCF had some big buzz before FSU and Miami became viable.
I must have missed that.
Yeah, I must have missed it too.
Yeah,
you hear anything about that, Moan?
I never heard that, but I've heard somebody try and push USF to the Big Ten.
USF to the Big Ten?
Yeah.
That's more of like the academic stuff, the medical.
They're getting pushed on the Big 12.
Medical
Yeah,
hospital.
right. If they miss on Miami and Florida State, they would take USF to get into Florida. I think they would just not take a school in Florida at that point. But and then Scott White from Florida says, "Yep, USF new stadium too." That's again one of the reasons that I heard listed that people would take.
That
a
one's being
USF.
built to be expanded later with that in mind. So they see their potential. They have to realize it. But I think that the UCF USF combo, that would be a strong one.
All right. Jose can't seem to find his pants.
That's a problem, but it's Friday night. It's okay.
Friday night. If you just walk outside, the police will help you find them.
I mean, you know, it happens sometimes. Like, where are my pants, right? Or no. Jose.
Mike Smith is going old school and drinking the Tang.
Man.
Drink the astronauts took to the moon.
They brought Tang on the
something
moon?
else.
Tang, yeah.
No,
You know,
Tang,
that's
but
where-
with something else. Like, people tend to mix that with a lot of stuff.
All right. I figured this is where we were going, so we'll skip that.
Mm-hmm.
Town Hawk. Town Hawk. We knocked down the west and north stands, doesn't include east stands for phase 1. So technically renovation, but yeah, new build basically.
I think he's talking about you.
KU?
Town Hawk. What school? I know you guys are having a conversation in there, but I'm trying to figure out.
I mean, when you see a Hawk in a name, that's got to be KU.
It's about 450
you would think.
million. Yeah, it's Kansas.
Town, maybe that's
No, he's
okay.
talking about Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another big deal. I mean, that's when you know Kansas is not playing around. You know, they built that whole new facility for the football team with all the weight area and the locker room areas. They wanted to make it feel like it's a top level program with all the amenities. And now with the new stadium and a coach that doesn't seem to want to leave, that tells you they got plans internally. I mean, I kind of would like to know who they've talked to.
Ooh, immaculate. What are you thinking?
I'm just saying they're putting a lot of money into that for, you know, I mean, you're bordering Kansas, you're right there with Iowa. I mean, also there's SEC talk. With the value of the basketball brand, I mean, there's lots of corn and wheat there. No, but seriously, you don't. Those are top level investments. I don't know if anyone else, even in the Big 12 right now, is making that same level of investment. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. Is those are easily the same types of investments that you're seeing in Big 10 and the SEC.
Well, Minnesota, Blitzkrieg, Iowa. I say yes.
With what, snow?
Yeah, I try to get past those Iowa linemen. But
yeah.
Interesting. I thought $1 to $2 billion would be closer to a new stadium. Just guessing on my part. They're talking about Kansas.
Yeah, if you're talking Northwestern,
he's letting us know Wichita is Town.
Ah, okay.
Town.
That was what I was trying to figure out was what was Town. And then he lets us know we have a Culver's. By God, there is civilization that exists in Wichita.
That's
Culver's
so
with a butter burger.
You're bragging about Wisconsin invading you? Okay.
Ooh.
Culver's is delicious. I don't care what anybody says.
I have a Culver's not far from here. I eat it every once in a while. Not gonna lie. They invaded Arizona too.
Mike Smith, it is great that the Kansas coaches stayed where other teams were trying to get him. I agreed.
Yeah,
Town sums it up with Leopold loves Culver's.
There you go. That's why he's staying.
That's good stuff.
Jose, could your Mark put up a fight to not lose KU?
I mean, he can put up a fight, and I mean, are you asking if he could win it? I mean, it depends upon what others are asking for. Like, you know, is it we'll give you a half pay? Well, then, yeah, I think Kansas would probably stay and try and be top dog. If it's more than that, I don't know. We'll see.
Jose wants to let us know that Jameson is kicking in right now. I hate Jameson. I'll never drink it again.
I don't get why you hate Jameson, Moan.
Because
That's
I
good
got
stuff.
alcohol poisoning on Jameson in college, and I'll never drink it again.
That makes sense.
Yeah, once you get sick, it's just even the smell of Jameson will make me nauseous.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big Jameson fan myself.
Ryan Willie wants to let us know Culver's is based in Wisconsin, and Tony Lawson wants us to know Culver's, Wisconsin's only positive contribution to society.
So much for that piece, the ceasefire. That ceasefire's over.
Ceasefire's over. We'll end this with Rock and Rant super chat here tonight. Thank everybody for coming out. Rock and Rant, thank you so much for coming on. Great show, guys. Thanks for having me. We'll have you again, Rock and Rant, when we're talking some more Miami stuff. Once the ACC starts imploding here because they have signed their death warrant. You know, it is what it is. What are your final thoughts, you?
My final thoughts are Miami copied Utah here. So instead of this, you need this, okay? Not this. This. Go Utes.
Okay. Immaculate, what about you?
I'm just really glad that we're not going to have to talk for the CFP for hopefully for a while until the actual CFP happens at the end of this next coming season. Hopefully we can get back into just straight realignment talk and maybe some of the governance issues and NCAA issues, but kind of nice to close that book and that chapter. It's been a rough one for a lot of people. Folks, remember, it's not all decided just yet. I know this seems horrible in comparison to things, but there's still a lot of money going around to everybody. So let's just see where this goes. Let's focus on some realignment issues here in the future and kind of relax a little bit.
Yeah, and I will say that I am glad this is over as well. The Big Ten has received the money that they completely earned off the field by securing brands like USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. And now they're going to prove it on the field this year when Ohio State wins the national championship with Caleb Downs at safety. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Get used to it. And we will see you guys on Sunday at 8 p.m. for the Mo and After Dark show with myself and this guy down here.
Yes, sir.
And we will call this Mo and After Dark since you likes is you. It's the Mo and After Dark.
What's that?
I don't know. I don't know if I can copy that one.
What about
if that's our sign, we're in trouble.
Moan.
We go Mo and After Dark, yo. Mo and After Dark. Mo and After Dark. We'll see you guys Mo and After Dark on Sunday where we'll answer more of your questions. That's all we'll do. Take chat comments. We'll have a few laughs. We'll talk some things over. We'll get some shit done. Until then, this is Moen, Wild You, and Immaculate signing out. We will see you guys on next Friday for another episode of the Big Freakin' Friday show.
Have a good one.
Peace out.
See ya.